Better not sit there, Jeff. That's
Same
Mr.
number,
Moore's
no
chair.
problem.
Yeah.
You can put more up here.
Get some up there. Those two are okay. Just
I got Doc leaving.
I'm the corner, Gary might come in
You'll
and
see
shop.
me sitting
Yeah.
scoring.
With all the input he gives,
Yeah.
I mean, he gives lots of thought.
Yeah, I'm all.
A change might do him good. You might see them different.
Lots of
1
time.
minute left, so you have 1 minute.
You
to
missed the
count
part
it.
where we're
You're
done 45
all for me.
Nothing, you're on board, Sam.
So I'm okay.
I told Mr. Fopple to do an extra detailed audit
Everybody wants to
presentation.
get here at 7:15.
When's the RC for who coming? He came all the way from
Just
Canmore,
because
so he
it's,
wants to get his time in.
Oh, the audit, yeah.
Okay, so we'll call to order at 6 o'clock. We get a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, sorry, we can remove closed session item 13.02.
Okay,
That's gonna get you closer to 7:50.
can we get a motion to adopt the
Yeah.
agenda? Amended
Yeah.
agenda. Counselor Olson, all in favor? Carried. Delegations, West Met. Welcome.
Whoever wants to start, Jeffrey.
Yeah, no, thank you all, Mr. Mayor, council members, very much appreciate you giving us an opportunity to share with you what we're doing out in what you would all know as the formerly Westmoreland Sheerness Mine. Where we're converting and repurposing the land, trying to continue to use the skill set that was there for the past 30 years. And again, repurpose land, repurpose that skill set. So we've got a little presentation, but primarily I wanted to introduce myself. You probably know the other members of the team here more than myself. I'm Jeffrey Kokora. As we talked, I'm actually from the States, down in Denver, Colorado. That's where our Westmoreland property and our corporate office is. And Clay will get into it, but WestMet is Westmoreland Minerals, Energy and Technology. That's how we formed. We formed under WestMet. Very proud to say that on May 4th of 2023, we separated. So we have our own board. We have our own direction. We have our own mission. We've got our websites up and running, and we're very actively pursuing the growth of not only the WestMet Ag, but also our Earth Restoration Services group. We'll touch a little bit on a third business unit we're looking to do, and that is deploying the energy side, and it's looking at these idle properties and seeing if we can actually put solar on there or something else to repurpose that. So again, with that, my name is Jeffrey Kokora. Fortunately, I'm the president of WestMet. My background is about 35 years in mining, primarily underground mining in the US. I worked in the East, the Midwest, and in the West. I've got a year now, Clay's taking me under his wing and teaching me about farming and agriculture. So I'm learning that over the years. But family of four, we've got 4 children. My wife and I are in Colorado right now. Kids are spread out over the US. We enjoy visiting them and going out and seeing them. It's a pleasure with young adults. It's actually, I tell everybody that, I've enjoyed all the ages of my children, but the young adult is really great right now. It's enjoyable time to go visit them, do things with them and watch them plan. So that's a little bit about myself on a personal side. I'll kick it over to Kyle to introduce before we go on to play.
Hello, I'm Kyle Hobbs. I was the general manager since 2017 on Sheerness Mine. And then recently with WestMet transition, I'm the director of operations for Canada. And I currently reside in Camrose, so I come down as often as possible. Thanks for everybody, and I'll Clay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think most of you know me. I'm Clay Williams. I farm just 6 miles south of Hanna. I've been at the mine for 7 years now. Kind of leading off with the transition from Westmoreland to WestMet. I'll kind of explain where we came from, where we're at now, and where we plan to head to, and kind of the opportunity for the area with the reserve that's there that kind of starting to turn into something a whole lot more and what it means for the community. So you go to the next slide.
Pause for a second.
Oh, sorry, Cora.
You probably know Laura.
Forrest Gelding,
What?
HR manager, WestMet, so.
So we were Westmoreland, traditionally, significant coal mine company, huge history, they're over 100 years old. Then, as everyone kind of is aware, the power plant switched over to gas, we were regulated out of coal, and so it switched over to primarily reclamation at Sheerness, which meant that we reduced from over 90 people to down to about 40, 43 hourly operators on equipment and mechanics and that type of stuff. And in 2023, we formed Westmat in May 4th, and kind of history from there with Westmet Ag. The site here is Westmet Ag, and it's focused around Humulite, which I'll kind of touch on a little bit later, but that is a reserve that's the best in the world that's sitting right here. And so we've leveraged it into 5 different agri products at this point, and hopefully more. But with that, we started screening in 2022. We're a little bit further down the path now into exports into different places around the world. And we've kind of ramped up to 61 this year. And if we can kind of keep this trajectory, we can get into more stuff. So go to the next slide. But in the meantime of doing this Westmet Ag agri products, we're also focused on getting the reclamation done at site. It's very important to us in Westmet to make sure that the liability is extinguished, make sure land's put back is good or better than it was before, kind of put the history of the coal mine behind us and move forward with these new innovative solutions to this type of problems. So it's amazing how this reserve sitting right here is perfect product for doing this reclamation. It's a high carbon, high humic product that we're using for some subsoil remediation, some topsoil remediation, and we're doing it right at site here and trying to make it better than the lands that are across the fence even. And so that when this is done, it is something that's good for the area, not a hole in the ground that's left. So with everything that's going on, we've been doing full throttle reclamation. We should be done by 2026 of the main coal liability being extinguished, and then moving forward, it'll all be on Humulite mining and agri products progress. If you go to the next slide, kind of explaining that, you know, we went from quite the transition, going from the mining industry to the agricultural industry. Like we're going from 160-ton trucks to loading out super B grain trailers. So it's a shift of industry, a shift of type of work, a shift of mentality. But, you know, the community's embraced it, the operators have embraced it, everyone's learned quick and transitioned into something new that is a long-term item. On the next slide.
Clay, do you want interruptions with questions or?
I'd love to.
All right.
Otherwise, I'll race right fast.
How many of your staff are dedicated to reclamation only operators?
We don't really operate that way as dedicated just to one or the other, with a very diverse work staff that can kind of go from one to the other and back and forth. So we have 2 different screening operations. We have what we call the primary that makes the ag grade product, which I'll touch on here a little bit later. It's a coarser product that's used by farmers, spread, can pretty much run through an air drill, spin spreader, all that fun stuff. That has a set of people, and then we have a secondary that takes our finer product and refines it into 2 products, a turf grade and a fines that's used more for making into refined products from liquids and frills and kind of the further processed agricultural products. And so that runs another facility, and then we also have the mining side of it. And then at the same time as we're doing that, we're hauling soils and leveling and doing a bunch of big equipment type reclamation. And then, you know, if we get weather events where we can't handle the product because it's wet, or, you know, there's ups and downs in the sales cycles, we'll reallocate that work staff between reclamation and Humulite.
Okay.
So it's a very diverse, you use back and forth work.
So you have cross training.
That's right, yeah. Everyone's cross training.
How deep is this product like?
So, yeah, that's one of the crazy things with it. So coal, we had the drag lines that everyone saw from miles away that, you know, we were upwards of 10 to 15 meters deep on the deeper stuff. This stuff at the deepest is probably 3 meters, but typically we're a meter of overburden for a meter of product. So it's the shallow stuff, kind of explain how it's made, which will lead into the next slide, actually, would be good. So Humulite is extremely oxidized, humified coal. So it's stuff that's on the perimeter ultimately that is shallow, has gone through this process a million years ago, and you can't have it in the deeper holes ultimately. So it's the very shallow stuff that, you know, when it was being mined for coal, we wouldn't burn because it didn't burn. And so it's very low quality coal, but on the humic side, this is the highest quality product in the world. So the way it was formed is formed in fresh water rather than salt water. There's next to no heavy metals in it, so it's all certified organic. When the last glacier was formed, it went around it rather than over it. So when that receded and percolated all that fresh water through it, it kind of supercharged the humidification process. So our humic acid content of this reserve will be upwards of 65 to 75 in some of the better spots, that the next best one in the world will be 20 points less than that. So this is the highest quality formation, the highest volume formation too. So like being as the size the site is and going around the perimeter, that's a huge tonnage. And so there is lots of years of reserve here. So this is a long-term play for this site. I'll jump right into, if you go to the next slide, the products we're building. So this is kind of where we started out. We're building the 3 grade products I was telling you about. We're putting it in 1-ton totes. That's what you were gonna haul there. And then we're also putting a lot of it in super Bs, and that's what's getting used by the bigger farmers. And especially in this area, like a lot of the guys that are running seed drills and thousands of acres, this is the form they wanted in. But in the bags, it's getting processed into bags, and we're putting it in sea cans, and it's going to Spain and Germany and India and Uruguay, so South America, Asia, Europe, everywhere. So it's definitely gaining a lot of traction internationally.
Clay, do you have a distribution center here locally, or do they have to come on site to get the product?
So we have some distributors. The smaller grade stuff, we don't have distributors yet, where that's something we're working on building out. But on the big ag side, we have Smart in Alberta and some of the southern states in Top Crop in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, distributing it.
Okay.
But on the smaller side of things, like the bags and the turf grade products, we would definitely be looking for more distributors. And so that's it. Like, this is all new to us, the marketing side of it. Yeah, building out the sales and marketing. And so our distributors are new to us as well. So we're trying to build that whole network out. And so we're active for local. So if you go to the next slide, we're also developing some new products that are new to us this year. This is some products that we've taken the raw humics that's highest quality out there, and we're blending it with some other products that's rocket fueling their effects. And so Humulite is a biostimulant. It's got amazing chelating factors for fertility packages, takes your fertility further. It has moisture retention properties, helps with the biology in your soil. So there's all these benefits that it does, but when you start mixing it with some of these other products, calcium products, sulfur products, that type of stuff, it makes them way better as well. So we've built 2 products. We've built a subsoil product and a topsoil product. And so from an environmental side, a reclamation side, we have a product that we're pretty much building subsoil out of failing subsoil. We're taking the salinity out of it. And then in the topsoil side, we're building topsoil with compost and humics. And then we're taking those products and using them on an agronomic side of things, especially where we live in special areas that's not known for the best soils, and solonetzik and hardpan and high salinity. And we're fixing those with these humic products. And so we've got a topsoil product that we're using for the agronomic benefits, and then a subsoil product that we're using for the salinity and hardpan area type stuff.
Do you have any test sites that you've done this on?
So we're just finished up with applying some of it on our test sites, and so we'll take some time to analyze those over time. But the Humulite itself, standalone, we have lots of research on. We've been doing it through the university, been using Kara and getting some pretty impressive results, getting lots of stuff published on it. We were in the Alberta Farmer Express and the Western Producer lately with that. And then these further on products that are just in first stages of testing, but from a lab side, they work really well. Now it's just scaling it up for agricultural trials. We're looking at blending with other companies' products and then taking on manufacturing at site of that.
So you're looking with GFL?
We've been in conversations with GFL and we want to take that on site, but it's
Still in discussion.
still in discussion at this point. Yeah.
How
have like crop yields like per acre with the humulite versus, a piece of land that doesn't have it on the comparables? Like, are you seeing like a 25% more yield, 50%, 70% with this application? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
not to those scales by any means.
Okay.
That'd be pretty extreme, but,
Darn.
you have to remember that humulite's not a fertilizer, it's an amendment, so it makes everything more effective. We do have data with U of A saying with your phosphorus and nitrogen, you're getting a 5 to 10% efficiency use increase, so you're using your expensive products more effectively. That said, we don't have a lot of yield data saying you use this, it's gonna increase by that much, because a lot of the plot trials we've done with the U of A and Kara have been drought stricken and or hailed out over the last couple of years and stuff like that. It's been pretty tough years for crop trials in Alberta. So this year, we're doing lots of trials right through the Midwest. There's lots being done in Iowa. You remember them all?
Yeah. Iowa, Kansas, Illinois. Well, we did also,
Farming
just
regions.
was like,
Yeah,
Mosaic took it last year and actually did in 10 states trials on that and showed an increase of 3 to 5 points.
yeah, they're doing it on corn, which is a lot more
Thank you.
drastic, getting 3 to 5%. They're also, they put it up against other carbon products.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's where we are, and we want 80% of the time.
So are you also, applying it onto good land? To see that if it improves it that much more, like say down the main corridor and that sort of thing, so that it actually, they already have all that information, right? And then by applying this versus some sort of fertilizer comparison, can see whether or not it acts similar or better or things of that nature. Here is mostly in the drought, special areas area, I believe, is it not? So it would be nice to be able to have some trials on land where they've already got productions, information from a long time ago, and to be able to see how much more it may give them for yield and such.
Yeah, we definitely with the university, they've done it at 4 different locations, and some of those northern ones are like that, better soil areas, and they're seeing, that's where they're seeing a lot of the efficiency use improvements with it, not so much a giant yield gain.
Yeah,
I think that's where we're gonna see it on the poorer soils is the bigger yield gains.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's a soil amendment. It's improving the soil, and what it's doing is making your soil more resilient,
Yeah.
making higher carbon scores, stuff like that, just to improve the quality of your soils, not necessarily just giving it a quick bump,
Oh,
like
for
say
sure.
nitrogen.
Yeah, yeah. And is it cost comparable or
Right now, we're drastically cheaper than
Yeah.
fertilizer, and that's kind of
kind
the
of the
push. for it.
attraction? Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
wouldn't use one instead of the other.
Yeah, it's not about one instead of the
It's
other, right?
supplements.
It's in conjunction, and if you can reduce your fertilizer
Yeah.
package by, that's what a lot of the research is on, cutting your fertilizer package in half or to 3/4 and using
Yeah.
a rate of humulite. Now your economics are all there to
Yeah.
use humulite.
Well, I can give you a testimonial, Clay. My backyard is clay and alkali, and it has been for 24 years. And, one of the guys dropped off a 5-gallon pail last year. And I thought, well, got nothing to lose. And so I dumped it on the backyard and raked it in and everything, and it definitely was better than it has been. Now, whether it's because White piece more water on the lawn, I don't know. But, it definitely seemed to perk the backyard up. And like I say, that is a gray clay alkali soil back there, so it seemed to help. Now, like I said, I'm not sure if it was because the White watered the shit out of it or what it was, but.
Yeah, and that's kind of where these products were driven from, is taking a soil like that, that's hard pan, high salts, where humulite has a good effect on salts and absorbing salinity. But now if we add some of these calcium products with it, now you've just rocket fueled that. So all these things that are used to solve some of these problems, as soon as you add humics to it, it does a better job of what it was doing. So that's where this product development is being led down.
If anybody watches Clarkson Farms, do you guys watch that?
Yeah,
They just dropped their, oh, they should, it's really funny. They just dropped their latest season and they talk about soil amendments, and I'd never heard of that before. They actually are comparing 2 fields. One, they're doing the soil amendment, and the other one doing the traditional fertilizer. They don't go into detail with it, but what you're saying. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I gotta go back and watch that. It's kind of cool.
So we're also doing a solar farm at site as well, an 80 acre solar farm with Pace. Kind of talking about that renewables side that we're gonna kick off. That's what this is. It's pretty small scale at this point, but it's ongoing. We're just building the road into it right now and they're putting the fence up around it, so it's supposed to happen. I don't know if you want to add anything to that. but-
So just construction will be this year and, they upgraded their panels, that they're installing, it'll be 12.5 megawatt. Unit, so hopefully, it'll be in commission by the end of the year, is the plan, end of this year.
Whereabouts is that from the plant?
If you go straight east of it, it's the other side of the site.
Oh, okay, just more over where Shed was a temporary, so.
Now, is that gonna give power to you, or that's just to give power to the grid?
We are looking at, potential solar panels for our, facilities, like I was saying, their primary and secondary screening, so we're looking at that as well. We can subsidize some of our electric costs.
Right.
So you said, are they already online or not?
No. Hopefully
But
by the
they
end
were
of this year.
approved
They're approved.
and they've already upgraded their panels?
Yeah, the ones that they were gonna install as of last year, they've changed kind of the design, so we modified the area, on the hectares or acres that are be applied.
And
But
what's
they
that?
haven't been, they did an infrastructure testing, like the pilings test. Like I said, we're building the road in the next few weeks and then fence it in and they'll be starting the construction,
Oh,
most likely,
no, I apologize, I missed that.
yeah, to bring in the infrastructure.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess to conclude, I just wanted to present that, to be blunt about it, this was a failing coal mine that now we've kind of regenerated into something that's long-term, opportunistic, and is gonna kind of give some benefits to the community from kind of a new industry, long-term, opportunities and ultimately growth. Like there is a lot of different ways that humic can be used. It's used for solar panels, like renewable energy, cosmetics, human health, animal feed, agronomics. That's like where we started focusing on. But there's all these different industries that humics are used for, and we have the best quality reserve of it sitting right here. So now it's just what path do we head down with it? What do we want to grow? How big can we make it here in this community? So it is an opportunity, and there is an opportunity to do a lot of things that we want to get out of town and do other places. So it's a good location as well.
So is there any potential for the similar project to what they did up at Forestwood with fly ash?
So the ash is a separate thing. So the ash is owned by the plant. They all have it in a stockpile, but that would be its own thing, separate of us.
Yeah.
We're focusing
It
on,
is on your property.
not really, it's on the power plant.
Yeah, they own that.
Okay.
And they're looking to sell, well, they're going through that whole transition to TransAlta, right? So
Yeah.
they're not much has happened, but they were looking to potentially sell their reserve of ash that's in that.
Okay. There's another one, Forestwood's been quite a process as far as reclaiming the ash, because they had greater reading and count.
Yeah. And our team helps up there to do engineering and design, and yeah, they're in their third pit now, digging up the ash out of very.
And you found a way to use it?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, we
That's
got,
amazing.
when we were burning coal, the fly ash mainly, that captured and stacked, was sold to the cement companies for years, forever.
Oh, okay.
So when all the coal mines were closing down, it raised red flags for the cement industry saying, what are we gonna get for substitute for that? And there wasn't a solution. So now we're going back. And we're not the only one, like Bell River, not the only one. All the pines out west of Edmonton, they're all digging up their ash too and selling to the concrete swing.
I have one more question. There was some discussion about trying to get rail back in?
Rail would be
You guys-
very great for us.
I realize, but is there any discussion and further discussion, or is that not?
I think
At this
especially.
point, it'd be nice to Yeah, I heard there was some discussion with special areas and such, with that as well.
Especially with doing a feasibility study, which we participated in, pretty much just saying, yeah, we would be very interested in. It would change the demographics of what we're trying to do
Yeah.
from, we could bulk move a lot more product to different
Right.
places in the world,
Mhm.
that it would definitely change the site.
Okay, no update on that.
No.
Thank you.
Need a research center.
What's that,
We
sir?
need a research center.
Yeah, there is a lot of research stuff going on, and we've been trying to use Kara and local research as much as we can, but that is something that's definitely gonna be a focus on, is research into these new products. Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you for your time and all the work you guys are doing. I think that's great. It's nice to see some activity going in our economics.
Yeah, I met with Westmet back in early April and I thought it'd be a valuable show and tell, for lack of a better term, and we've got some samples over here. I've got some samples at the shop, and it's kind of a coffee thing. People look at it and go, what is this? And how does this work? And well, I'm not the expert, but I say I can get you in contact with somebody that can, so.
Thank you for. bringing
No,
it.
it's
That's
good.
Yeah.
So on behalf of council, I'd like to thank Westmed, Jeff, Kyle, Clay, and Cora for coming in and doing the show and tell for us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice to see something refreshing happening again, so.
Yeah.
We will be, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
We will be having the board in August, here at the mine. And I will tell, there will be invitations for an open house at the mine. It's 7th and 8th, so yeah.
7th of August.
Yes, so
Thank you.
happy to have you come out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, again, thank you guys, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I thought you were supposed to be the whole meeting, Kyle.
Al said he was staying.
I thought he said that earlier.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So nothing personal, but Sam, good luck following that.
Jeff, the floor is yours.
Jeff, floor is yours.
Well, you might not make that.
Mr. Mayor, you have to vote on your thank you.
Yes.
Oh, all in favor, motion? I mean,
Made the
carried.
motion.
I didn't.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of some talking here.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know they tell them there's no presentation.
Here, I can have it.
That's something.
Thank you.
So, just sit down there, Bassett and Jeff. Those two. Yeah.
Clerks and.
Well, if you want to stand, you can.
Whatever, here's a boss.
It's great.
For now.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you?
Really well, thank you. How are you? Good to have you here.
Okay, where would you like to start?
Okay, floor's mine.
What is yours?
All right, good to be here again. So I was not on site as part of the audit this year. I was more of a senior role. I was reviewing the file, finalizing the financial statements, working with Bassett on some of our more difficult things that we had to deal with this year. Some new reporting standards for municipalities across the country, and we had to adopt those this year in your financial statements, okay? So there's a little bit of work there. So what I'd like to do is if we could just go forward to page number, I guess it's page number 2 on the bottom. I don't know what page that is on the PDF, maybe page 3. Or one more, please.
I'm trying to
Thank
figure
you.
out where it's telling you where the page is. and
Okay.
Maybe follow you, but I don't see it.
Yeah, it's not showing up there. At any rate, I'd like to guide you through the financial statements, talk about our audit, what we discovered, and I guess if anybody has any questions or anything as I'm talking, please feel free to interrupt. So starting on page number 2 at the bottom, the independent auditor's report. Just looking at, the most important part of the report, our opinion, and, second paragraph from the top there, discusses that, of course, the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with public sector accounting standards. The rest of the report's pretty standard form, discusses our responsibilities as auditor. But something I'll draw your attention to is a paragraph titled Emphasis of Matter. And that discusses the adoption of the new standards this year. And so that is public sector or the Public Sector Handbook, Section 3280, Asset Retirement Obligations. So previously, there was no liability reported in your financial statements or any other municipality's financial statements to do with liability for future asset retirement obligation, okay? And so when we get to the statements, we'll talk about this more. But basically, this has to do with items like your lagoon, any buildings that have asbestos in them, other municipalities who operate a landfill, you have big liabilities to recognize there as well. So some changes, but yeah, we'll go forward and we'll talk about them. The numbers will make more sense of it. So going forward, page number 3 is a continuation of the audit report, discusses our responsibilities as auditor. And page number 4 is our signature, saying that, yes, we're happy with the financial statements as presented. Page number 5, right there is the statement of financial position of the town of Hanna as of December 31st, 2023. Of course, the comparative figures to 2022 have been restated to reflect that asset retirement obligation. We'll get there as we go through the statements. Just starting at the top, we have your cash at the end of the year, 5.9 million compared to 5.1 in the previous year. Then the statement lists your different receivable balances, taxes receivable being $105,000 compared to $74,000 in the previous year. Trade and other receivables, $512,000. So that includes things like utilities that ratepayers owe the town, general accounts receivable like recreation and so on. Receivables from other governments, nearly $2 million at the end of the year. So this represents money that's owed to the town from under some different programs. So the MSI program is about $897,000 that's owed to the town as of December 31st. CCBF, that used to be the Federal Gas Tax Fund. Of course, they renamed these programs. They owe you $760,000. There's some GST and Special Areas Board owes you about $192,000. So that's all lumped together in that $1.9 million that you're owed at the end of the year. Just wrapping out the financial assets, we have your land held for resale, 1.15 million. So you can see that went down in the year. You sold a few lots at Fielding Place, which is a good thing. So that comes out of your inventory when you sell those lots. Hopefully more sell as time goes on. Then the next item is your investment account, $2.2 million at the end of the year. Yeah. So total financial assets as of December 31st, 11.9 million compared to 10.9 million in the previous fiscal year. Liabilities, we'll talk about your accounts payable. So just general amounts that you owe at the end of the year, $345,000, up from the previous year. Of course, you have some construction projects going on. There were some holdbacks payable for the airport project that are lumped in there. Otherwise, just normal outstanding stuff at the end of the year. The next major line item to look at is the deferred revenue line item. So $2.3 million, 2.4 in the previous year. What this represents is money that you've received or is considered receivable you haven't spent on its intended purpose yet. So this is money that you're entitled to from these various grant programs like MSI or CCBF that you haven't spent yet, okay? So that money's either sitting up in that receivable of 1.9 million or up in your cash account. It's kind of split between there. So that, as you use that money in the future, that'll become revenue and equity type thing. Employee benefit obligations, you've got your vacation payable, vested sick leave payable, and bank time payable to your employees. Long-term debt, 0 at the end of the year, paid off your greater lease, final buyout on that this year, so no more debt there. The next line item, asset retirement obligation, that's the new thing that we do need to talk about a little bit here. So the calculation works out. As of December 31st, the town's asset retirement obligation is $1.1 million. Okay, so this is a legal obligation for the future retirement of your tangible capital asset, whether it's your lagoon, which is a good amount in there, or there's some buildings that have asbestos in it. So there's engineers' studies that can provide us that we use to help formulate these numbers. Of course, this will be reevaluated in future years, but this is what it is as of December 31st, 2023, restated to 2022 to include that liability of $1.1 million. So with that, with all the liabilities total, $4.1 million. Looking at your total financial assets of 11.9 million, less those liabilities of 4.1 million, come to your net financial assets of 7.7 million at the end of the year. Then what the schedule does, the statement of financial position brings in your non-financial assets. So your net depreciated tangible capital assets is $30 million and some prepaid expenses of 17,000. So those total 30 million. So add those together, the net financial assets plus those non-financial assets comes to the town's accumulated surplus of $37.8 million. Now, we're going to see that $37.8 million as we go through the statement. So we're going to make a little more sense of it as we go forward. Okay. Any questions, concerns before I move forward? If not, we'll go forward to the next page. This is a statement of operations. So this summarizes the town's revenue and expenses for the year. So the top part is all your operating revenues, less all of your operating expenses, coming to what your net surplus or shortfall is for the year. So if we kind of just look at the top at your operating revenues, starting off with taxes, your net taxes are $2.7 million for 2023, basically right on your budgeted amount there. The next major line item is user fees and sales of goods, $2.7 million. So this includes, different user fees for, recreation and so on, your utility, revenue, et cetera, falls under there. You can see that it's up over the previous fiscal year. In 2023, you had more firefighting revenue. I believe your fire department helped out some other municipalities in 2023. Also, the land sale, 2 land sales plus some tax recovery land sales are included in there. So some, revenue that you didn't necessarily budget for with the sale of those lots is showing up there. $1.3 million for government transfers for operating. So that's government grants that the towns received this year. So $1.3 million. In the previous year, it was 865. So you see quite a jump in that number this year. All municipalities received a higher MSI operating grant in 2023. So you received that as well as the Special Areas Board provided a higher transfer in 2023. So those two factors is why that's up to 1.3 million. Investment income, $314,000. Of course, with rates going up, it only stands to reason that you're gonna make more on your portfolio. Franchise fees, basically comparable to the previous year, and some other sources of revenue, $156,000. Total operating revenue, $7.8 million at the end of 2023. If we look down below, we have all of your operating expenditures listed there. Now, this presentation of operating expenses is by function, so you can see what was spent on police or fire, etc. But what I'd like to do is just move you forward a few pages to page number. We're going to come back to page 6. But if we go forward to page number 11, which is schedule of expenses by object, schedule 4, right there. Yeah. So the same $7.7 million of expenses is shown here on schedule 4. So here, the advantage of the schedule is you can see those same expenses by object. So whether it's salary and wages, which is $2 million, relatively comparable to the previous year, contracted services 1.8, and so on. You'll see towards the bottom, your amortization of tangible capital assets. So your depreciation of your capital assets, $1.1 million. Okay, so that shows up there. Just a note that that's not something that the town budgets for. So if you're looking at your budgeted expenses compared to your actual, there's a difference. That being that, you're not budgeting for your amortization. You're not raising taxes to fund amortization necessarily. So just FYI there. There's also a new line item, the last item there, accretion of asset retirement obligation. And we'll get to the note and we'll look a little closer at the asset retirement obligation. But basically, you're going to see this expense on an annual basis. As you go forward, basically what happens is this obligation, based on interest rates, etc., there's this calculation, and it's slowly building up to what it's going to be when you finally have to retire the lagoon, or you're going to have to do this abatement for asbestos in these buildings, etc. Okay, so there's a charge to your income statement on an annual basis to increase that liability as we go forward. Okay, so any questions on this schedule before it looks like you have any questions?
Yeah, so that money, Jeff, does that have to be put into, for lack of a better term, a bond or?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. Technically, I mean, that's a decision that council can make to either set that money aside, like your reserves, like where you're setting stuff aside. And yes, it would be prudent to say, okay, if we're setting aside $1 million, we have $1 million sitting in real cash, right? It's not just, some book numbers, right? So yes, but I mean, I think you have to, if you're evaluating whether you want to do that or not, you have to look at what else,
$1 million.
yeah, where are your other pulls, right? I mean, I think, I think probably with a lot of other municipalities, same size as the town of Hanna, you probably have a lot of infrastructure things that are coming at you in the next number of years that are probably a little more important than, yeah. So, I mean, in a perfect financial world, yes, but realistically, it depends. Yeah, yeah. So yes, if we can flip back to page number 6, I'll just round out the statement of operations. Yeah, so total expenses, operating expenses, 7.7 million. Just looking back up at the top, your total revenue was 7.8 million. Yes, that's the schedule there. So if you're looking at your total revenue, 7.8 million, less your expenses, 7.7. The net surplus this year is $84,000. Okay. Then what the schedule does is it brings in your capital sources of revenue. So we have $802,000 of government grants the town received to fund capital projects, as well as some other capital revenue, $220,000 from the Firefighters Association to help fund the burn power expansion. So those show up there. So it shows that the town's surplus, increase in surplus for 2023 was $1.1 million. Okay, so from 36.7 million to 37.8 million at the end of the year. Now, again, in a few more schedules, we're going to make more sense of that $1.1 million increase in surplus, as well as your total accumulated surplus of 37.8. If we go forward, I'm going to skip over page 7, and I'm just going to briefly touch on page number 8. So page number 8 is your statement of cash flows. Basically, I'm just going to look at some subtotals here. What this schedule does is it summarizes where your cash came from, where it went, what you're left with at the end of the year. Halfway down the page, you can see that operations, there's a subtotal of $2.2 million. Operations generated $2.2 million of cash. On the capital side, there was a net use of cash of $1.1 million. Investing $94,000 use of cash, and repayment of long-term debt $229,000. So aggregate those total subtotals, you get to the net change in cash of the year of $765,000 increase. So from 5.1 million to 5.94 million at December 31st, 2023. I will move you forward to page number 9 now. Now, this is printed on the landscape. This is the schedule of tangible capital assets. So on the face of the financial statement, we saw that your net book value tangible capital assets was $30 million. So you see that kind of in the bottom right there. The advantage of this schedule is you can see what your total cost is at the top there of each type of asset, whether it's land, buildings, etc., less your accumulated amortization. So what was claimed for depreciation in 2023 and every other year. And so the difference between those is your net book value. And of course, if you're looking at the individual categories, of course, like any other municipality, the majority of your tangible capital asset is invested in buildings and engineered structures. So engineered structures being roads, streets, stuff under the ground, and so on. Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add there. I mean, unless anybody had anything to add themselves. Schedule 2 on page number 10. This is a schedule of property and other taxes. So in the statement of operations, we saw that your net municipal taxes was 2.7 million. The advantage in this schedule is we can see what the gross levy of 3.6 million is, less your requisitions that you paid out to the school foundation fund, as well as Acadia Lodge or Seniors Foundation of 174,000, coming to what the town's net share is 2.7 million. Right below that is Schedule 3, Schedule of Government Transfers. So here, if we look at the operating component of this schedule, on the face of the statement, we saw that your operating transfers are 1.3. We explained that increase. Advantage here is you can just see which level of government provided you the funding. So if we look at local government providing 872, or provincial government providing $411,000 on the operating side. Likewise, on the transfers for capital, we see $437,000 for provincial. So there was some MSI money that was used to fund purchase of a fire truck. There was some money for funding the airport runway improvements from the provincial government, and special areas right below that 364, they matched the fire truck, as well as some of the improvements at the airport and other fire initiatives. Page number 11, we've already discussed this page, expenses by object, total expenses on the operating side, 7.7. Now, the next page, page number 12, this is your schedule of changes in accumulated surplus. So Here's that accumulated surplus number yet again, $37.8 million at the bottom right. I do want to kind of make sense of that. So this schedule separates your total surplus between what's unrestricted, so general surplus, restricted or reserves, if you're thinking from the old terminology, coming plus your equity and tangible capital assets coming to the total in the column second from the right. So basically, if we kind of just focus on the unrestricted surplus column, and see at the beginning of the year, the town's unrestricted surplus was 5.3 million. Then we see some different adjustments in this column. So we saw that your surplus increased by 1.1 million, but I think it's important to note that that $1.1 million increase in surplus wasn't just in the unrestricted column, that it affected all three of your funds. And so if we kind of look down the transactions, you can see that nearly $700,000 of current year surplus was restricted for next year. Okay, so this is money that we've set aside, you've set aside for future projects, or you budgeted for projects and they didn't necessarily happen in 2023. So you said, okay, we didn't spend that money this year. We got to set it aside because we're probably going to spend it in 23, or I mean 24, 25, however the project shapes up. Okay. A little bit of restricted funds came back over to the unrestricted column, $94,000. So there's a little bit of movement there. But then it's important to know, so we see this increase in surplus of $1.1 million, but the town invested, from the unrestricted fund, $1.2 million in tangible capital assets. Okay, so although your total surplus increase is $1.1 million, it's important to note that $1.2 million was invested in tangible capital assets in 2023. So the bottom line is the change in surplus for each fund. Unrestricted went up by 382,000, restricted by 548, and then after amortization and investment in tangible capital assets, there was a net change of 175 there. So that is that $37.8 million of accumulated surplus. We're going to see that number one more time as we go through the notes of financial statements. The following page 13, Schedule 6. I'm not going to go through this in detail. This is a rehash of the same information we've already seen. So the advantage of this schedule is you can see your different sources of revenue spread out between functions. So you can see whether it's general government, protective services, transportation services, and so on. Whereas the statement of operations just summarizes all of those. So just a better breakout. The same on the expense side, you can see a breakout. If you want to look at salary and wages, for example, you can see, okay, what's salary and wages under general government? What is it for recreation, etc. So just a breakout there. But again, same numbers, so I'm not gonna rehash them. We go forward to page 14. This is a summary of the accounting policies of the town of Hanna. Normally, I wouldn't talk too much about the accounting policies. Nothing's changed overall, but this year, if we go forward to page 16, we have a new policy, that asset retirement policy that I referred to at the beginning. So again, all municipalities across Canada were required to institute this asset retirement obligation policy into their financial statements in 23. If they didn't, I'm sure their auditor would have qualified their audit opinion. Continuing on, we'll get past the accounting policies and we'll get to page 18. And again, the statement discusses the change in accounting policy, just so the user is completely aware that there's been a change in accounting policy. And on page 19, note number 3, this discusses the prior period adjustment. So I mentioned when we were looking at your statement of financial position that the 2022 financial statements were restated. This note gives detail of all of the changes in the 2022 financial statement. So predominantly the change is an increase in the asset retirement obligation that wasn't there previously, as well as the inclusion of the asset retirement accretion expense of $54,000 in 2022. If we continue on, note number 4 discusses your cash. The only thing that I want to draw your attention to there is of your total cash, $633,000 is restricted in that it's considered deferred revenue. It's not available for general use. Note number 5 has a better breakdown of your taxes receivable. So total taxes receivable of $105,000. Advantage of this note is it shows what's considered arrears over 1 year or current. Note number 6 just breaks down your different investments that the town holds, majority being with BMO, and there is a GIC at the ATB. And of course, at the bottom of note 6, you can see the rates that you're earning. And of course, we're seeing some, as we discussed, some better earnings on your investment portfolio, that's for sure. On page 20, note number 7 is your deferred revenue note. So when we're looking at the statement of financial position, you have $2.3 million of deferred revenue. Here you can see what the source of the deferred revenue is, and like we spoke, MSI and the Canada Community Building Fund is the majority of your deferred revenue, as well as some other programs, grants, donations, etc. there. Continuing on to page 21, note number 8 has a detail of your employee benefit obligations. You can see what's owed to employees, whether it's vacation pay, sick pay, bank time, etc. Note number 9, long-term debt. Of course, that's 0. So, yeah, don't have to talk too much about that this year.
0 is good.
That's good, absolutely. Note number 10, a rehash again of that asset retirement obligation. And so the advantage of this note is we can see the breakdown of that obligation between what is asbestos abatement versus what is lagoon reclamation liability. Okay, so again, these are all based on estimates. So the estimated total liability for the lagoon is $565,000 as of December 31st, 2023. Building asbestos abatement, say that fast 4 times in a row, yeah, $626,000.
Can I ask you, who comes up with the numbers for these?
So that's based on engineering estimates in conjunction with industry standards, your interest rate. So it's kind of a moving target, okay? And so there's going to be, for example, lagoon, there's going to be some money spent in a few years on the lagoon, right? Yeah. And so that's going to change all this, right? Yeah. So, but I mean, that's still a real obligation as of today, yeah, as far as that's concerned. Yeah. And again, these are estimates, right? I mean, it's not perfect. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I would expect those to increase every year.
Absolutely. That's exactly what will happen. Yeah.
And so is there a time frame that this has?
Well, no, there's no time frame. I mean, it's just that we're recognizing that there is an obligation to do this work someday. And I mean, there's different buildings that are identified that need asbestos work done, but I mean, doesn't need to be done today,
and
right?
I understood that asbestos is fine until you disturb it. So if it's not being disturbed, what type of expense are we gonna have to spend on it?
Maybe not for a long time, but eventually, are you gonna renovate that building? Are you gonna demolish that building and put something there? You know, there is a future obligation. And I think Kim could attest to that. I mean, the town had to, spend a good amount of money on
Yeah.
on the Seymour, exactly, and the National Hotel. I don't know, was there another project?
Central Meats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, there was good money spent on that. And so I think although this is a lot of estimates here, I think it's important to incorporate this into your financial statements because there is an obligation for this someday. It's just,
At the end of the day, we can't walk away from the arena.
Yeah.
And just leave it full of asbestos material or if we change. Put new lagoons in or have a different way of dealing with our wastewater, we can't just leave the lagoons as they sit, they have to be reclaimed, so that obligation is there.
yeah, and I guess you have influence over when or if you're gonna have to incur that obligation, right? If the lagoons are fine and you do this, you're gonna do some work on them in a couple of years, that extends life by whatever it is. I can't remember the figure, but it pushes it forward, right? And yeah. And likewise, a building, if the building's operating and the building's sound, you don't need to do anything,
Well, that's what you think, right?
But you never
It's
know.
just, you know,
Things
all of a
happen.
sudden this comes up and it's another expense that municipalities have never faced before. Same,
Well, yes, they haven't.
except when they go to demolish or
They-
or
they-
do something. with the
Yeah, when they
actual
go to
building.
do something, right? And I think everybody knows it's there and they're kind of ignoring it, right? And so now it's out in your face, right?
I think as I mentioned, when I met with Peter last week, the town's intention all along would be, we're going to remediate whatever we do. We ask others to do that, we are going to do that. We didn't have it down on paper as an obligation, but it was always in the back of our minds that, for example, if we go build a new arena, that we still have a significant obligation in terms of the demolition and hazard abatement of the existing arena.
Right, at that time.
At that
when-
time.
When that time.
At that time,
comes
yeah.
And such, and.
Yeah.
And maybe these estimates are far higher than they could be, maybe, but probably they're fair.
Yeah.
I think they're fairly close based on other experiences. Yeah. At any rate, it's there. If you flip over to page number 22, note number 10 continues, so you can see, I mean, talking about the number moving, you can see at the beginning of the year, it was 1.135, increase of $56,000, which was charged to expense in 2023. Talking about obligations or debt, if you go to note number 12, debt limit. So even though the town doesn't have any debt as of December 31st, we're still required to report what your debt limit available to you is as defined under the Municipal Government Act. So this calculation is based on your total revenues, your total operating revenues specifically. So this number is a moving target. So it's based on your operating revenues. Your operation revenue spike, of course, obviously your debt limit will go up. So as of December 31st, your total debt limit is $11.7 million. So what that means is the town can theoretically borrow and be within compliance with the Government Act, Municipal Government Act, you could borrow $11.7 million. But if you look back at 2022, your debt limit was 10.4. So, I mean, you definitely don't want to be crunching that. Not that I'm advising you to go and borrow $11 million.
Let's start on that arena now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's $11 million in that. The second portion of that calculation is debt service limit. So again, this is calculated based on your operating revenues. It says that you could theoretically service $1.9 million of debt payments annually. Again, I'm not suggesting that.
So what would you say is our rate for debt? Is it fair, good, medium?
Well, I think it's good. I see a lot of municipalities that have some debt or quite a bit of debt. It's kind of all over the place, but I think you have to answer that question, you have to look at what is your infrastructure deficit too. I mean, what do you need to spend there? Maybe some of those municipalities that have a lot of debt, maybe they've done a whole bunch of infrastructure work recently, right? So yeah, I don't know. Continuing on, number 13, equity and tangible capital assets. $28.8 million. So this note, the advantage of this note is we can see that your total cost of your TCA is 52 million, less your accumulated amortization, less any debt or obligations, comes to what your net equity or your net ownership of your TCA is, $28.8 million. Note 14, accumulated surplus. Last time we see accumulated surplus in the statement, your total accumulated surplus at the end of the year is $37.8 million. We've seen that before. The only advantage of this note is that you can see what your restricted amounts are or your reserves. So you can see, you know, some of your surplus is restricted in operations or capital. You can kind of see where it's been segregated this year and other years. And of course, council can, you know, reallocate these or whatever as they see fit as you go forward. I think the rest of the notes, the financial statements, I'm not going to really go through them. They're just some standard disclosures, whether it's to do with your budget. Note number 18 discusses salary and benefits. So again, a required disclosure under the Municipal Government Act. Note 19 discusses your obligation under the local authority's pension plan with your to fund your employees' pensions. And yeah, at note 20, some commitments to some other organizations and a minor lease commitment there. So that is the notes, the financial statements. I don't think I have anything to add there, Kim, unless you wanted to talk about anything else.
No, I don't think so, Jeff.
Okay, so yes, that is, I tried to make sense of what was in the financial statements. There's a lot to take in there. They're kind of big and cumbersome, but I hope we made sense of them. Your packages also include some other documents, the financial information return, and a few other things. The audit findings letter, again, the audit went well. Of course, there was some complication with this asset retirement obligation, and Kim had to work hard on that as well. We're through that, and it's going to be maintenance of that as you go forward. Does anybody have any questions on anything that I talked about, or any comments?
I'm gonna need time to digest it.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I guess what we need from council is, we need the motion to approve the
And
statement.
we have that in our business section.
Okay, awesome. Okay, and then so once we get notification of that, Bassett will submit the financial statements to municipal affairs. I think you need some signatures. Maybe we can deal with that tomorrow. Yeah. And then we can submit everything and should be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
You betcha.
Thank you so much.
Get a motion to thank Jeff and Bassett for presentation of the town of Hanna audited financial statements.
I'll make that, Mr.
Councilor
Mayor.
Warwick, all in favor. Carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good job, Bassett.
Thanks, Jeff. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
See everybody for sure.
Okay, you've got a mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put your,
Thanks.
come between for that.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the playoffs.
What playoffs? Yeah.
Positive note, they didn't lose.
Yeah.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Yeah, nice you.
Was there a change in the management in this then?
Hanna Pickle.
Okay.
Just Peter's away.
Oh.
You're taking.
Come on up, Jeff, or
Jay.
Are you the only one?
We've had two guys.
You don't have any other, your partners joining it?
We've had two Jeffs already, so we gotta have a Jay now.
Oh, yeah, he's married to.
That was just riveting.
Can you beat that?
Oh, man, I tell you.
Did you like the surpluses there?
Yeah, that's what
I was
we're
gonna say, I'm sure every time there's a surplus, his ears perked up.
We're in good shape.
Ready to redo your finances.
Thank you, Mayor and Council for, letting us, give us some time on your agenda. It is good to know that, that the town is in good financial management. It's not just a condition, it's under good financial management. And so, you guys are pretty fortunate. In my past life, we saw all kinds of other things happen. And you should appreciate it, I think. In my humble opinion. And that's credit to the fellow sitting at the end on there. The Hanna Pickleball Club has been going for a few years and it's growing a little bit. We have about 40 members. And we've really enjoyed the relationship we've had with the town. Both at the Centennial Place, where you allow us some time to use there and you book some time for us. And that facility works good in the wintertime. And then the work on the tennis and pickleball and outdoor courts has been really good. It's probably second to none. The surface is second to none. That we play lots, as you know, everybody knows that we play lots and lots of places. That surface is really second to none. So we feel pretty fortunate to have that and we have access to it. And there's not that many tennis players, so we have pretty good access to it. But we've been working away. We've been looking at projects, ways that we could maintain and improve that project. It doesn't have a lot of operating cost, which is different, say, than the arena or the pool or those types of things. You get into those, you always have operating costs. The pickleball, at least the outdoor courts are pretty maintenance free in terms of cost, low cost operation there for value. And we use it lots and we play. So we'd like to just raise the idea of putting windscreens around the outside, the perimeter of the courts out there. We think that would be a pretty good add-on to it. We did some work to try and talk to Kim earlier, and he said we'll get some costs. And we had a couple of discussions around costs. We looked at whether we would be able to, what it would cost. So we went and got about maybe 3 or 4 different cost estimates just from companies. Tomco is one of the companies we looked at. They're the folks that did the surface out there, and they're pretty reliable. And talking with other pickleball clubs around, they have used them. A couple of other ones have gone out of business, but they gave us names of their suppliers and we contacted them. We think it would cost probably about $8,000 to go all the way around the outside. And so that's kind of the dollar amount. Our vision of it is that we would have something that, you know, you can kind of get black or green. But we've noticed also in that you can get other colors. So we've talked about getting something that's more in line with what the town has already. I've got lots of blue buildings around. So there's not any additional cost, so we can dress it up. And you could decide whether you wanted to put the town logo on it. And you know, you got a nice logo, maybe you want to put it on. I think you and I talked a bit about that. That's a little more pricey than I thought it was gonna be. We got an estimate for putting that on. I think an 8x5 on one of the screens would be about $1,100. That would just floored us to think that we would spend that kind of money on that. So that would be something up to the town if you wanted to do that. I think it'd be great to have it on there, but you have to decide whether it's really worth it or not. One of the things I talked to Kevin Olson about was whether the fence was good enough to handle that screen, because we have heard of a few places where it's blown down. And he feels that it would be, there's all kinds of things you can do to offset that, in terms of, of managing that. There's cuts in the screen itself. There's a number of things that you can do, put windows in it and just to release, the pressure. And we get some good wind events. And the wind does blow out there. We certainly have noticed that. And it does affect the play. I think we thought maybe the club could probably come up with 25% of the cost. And we did have a bit of a look at it, you don't have to do it all. Sometimes if you can do portion of it or whatever. So we looked at, if you did two sides would probably be the minimum that you want to do, the north and west sides. It's where we get most of the wind from. And, if you go along there, so two sides would be like 4,000, that's kind of half the price. And the pickleball club, we only put in 25% of that, or $1,000. And, if there was three sides, it'd be 6,000. The town's commitment there would be 4,500 and ours would be 1,500. If we're gonna do the whole thing, it would be about $8,000. And, town share would be about 6, and we would put up 2. So we've talked about that. I don't know if there's anything else. There's Dave or Sharon or person what
Just the safety aspect.
Yeah, from the golf club, yeah, it's amazing people golf a bit like I do, and every once in a while one comes off and rings in there.
That's the wind.
And Cindy, you had one here just the other day, bounced about 5 feet in front. The fence doesn't get rid of all of that. But it's certainly that our grandkids were out there and they were sitting on the bench and one come wheeling through the fence right off the bench they were sitting on and hit them. No, I didn't hit them, I just hit the bench and bounced off, and you think, where did that come from? Well, it doesn't completely fit. We're not asking anybody to try and fix that, but there would be an added benefit.
Well, yeah, the wind screen would take away for the ones that are coming in fence high or lower, not the ones that are
I
high.
hope to get my ball back then.
He's going back.
Hello, grandkids, they picked them up and I said, oh, run that back over to the guys, so they go running over and got the ball.
Is your ball? Go.
So Jay, how much wind reduction does that screen prevent? Like, are you looking at like 80%?
Yeah, and the screen itself is about 78 to 80%, but remember, it just comes over top.
Right.
So it does but you can kind of get back in the corner and get out of there. Wind screens are, medicine, you go and play, we play in lots of different places. Red Deer has a medicine hat and they help considerably. But they're not gonna take it away. You're gonna still have some wind. But,
Do you guys have access to the indoor facility on those days that the wind, or is there a time allocation?
it depends when we play.
Right.
Sometimes like but usually in the summertime, like play school's not there. The facility inside is available.
So you had also gone out and played on the outside, hockey arena, is that an option as well?
Yeah, we have played there. It isn't quite that surface is deteriorating a bit. But it's, we helped put up the boards there, we helped paint it and, we invested there. This is certainly a much better facility. We still got a lot of wind there too. I mean, when the wind, it comes over top and it comes around, so.
You don't have to worry about golf balls for sure.
No, you don't have to worry about that. We wouldn't go back.
No, but I'm just wondering, have you thought of approaching the golf course for a portion to help for the safety aspect as far as golf balls?
We haven't. It's just one of those things that we're out there and you just, once in a while, one comes in. And would we ask the golf course to make a big investment so that we completely eradicate that? No, I mean, how high would the fence have to be? So we can live with that. This just is an added measure of some.
It's an added bonus.
It's just a bonus, an add-on. I don't think the golf club has been very good to us. They give us a one little shed, the cart sheds, for our stops right there. They've been very good, and we use their bathrooms, we use their AED, all of that. So the golf club has been very cooperative.
Well, you may end up stopping and having something to eat in their cafeteria as well, so.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got a picture
This is
here.
a picture of Red Deer's club. They've got like a lot more courts than we have, but you can kind of see the wind screen.
Jay,
Yeah,
The courts, they've got them all the way.
have you approached Big Country
You
Ways?
can see the little windows.
They use that screen.
yeah. Well, that, I think it would be just about whether you could get it cheaper. You know, could you find someplace where it's less expensive? Generally, when I looked on the sites and talked to the suppliers, because they supply both to both those commercial operators and to us, it's not a lot cheaper.
But it would be worth a call
You can see.
Oh, yeah.
potentially to Sean
Can't see
and
through
just
them,
say
but
what they're
that's the same
paying, if it's
picture.
the same,
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
same
Yeah,
stuff.
have they got a supplier?
If they can get it cheaper,
The
that
volume.
benefits all, yeah.
Yeah, like, I guess what we envision is that the town would buy it. I don't think, like, it's your
Right.
facility,
Yeah.
and so our thinking is that the town would buy it and we would contribute to the town. And if we raise some money, if we wanted to raise some money, the town would be able to give a receipt of if somebody wanted to contribute, and we're not opposed to asking people for that. We actually thought originally that we could, put logos on there. You could just sell almost, advertising space, pretty good profile there. With some company like, I think wind towers and wind screen matches,
Cut 'em off, it wouldn't be as
At
bad.
$1,100,
Yeah, but at $1,100 for an 8x5, you're trying to raise $1,000, it's about $1,000 for 50 feet.
Yeah.
Well, and then you're gonna add another $1,100 on, well, the fundraiser, that kind of fell flat. We were living in that dream world for about 5 seconds.
So if you got a windscreen, would that sort of help you maybe bring a tournament into Hanna?
Tournaments are a whole
It's a
other thing.
But it's.
Yeah.
You don't have, it's only one.
I don't think I-
Well, there's multiple courts.
Multiple.
6 courts.
Oh, there's 6 courts.
Yeah, there's 6 courts there. We have a club tournament, but, and that's kind of, that's lots of fun, but like to bring it in now, you're like trying to get, referees, you're trying to get, it's a little more than what the club has capacity to do right now.
Yeah, but it's something to look at.
What's the life expectancy of that screen, Jay?
It's, around, like, looking around, like Red Deer's has been up for about, I think about 6 years now. About 6 years. I talked to Kevin, and Kevin, thought it would be, you're gonna pull that down in the wintertime, right? And I said, yeah, because it's just zip tied there, so he suggested, you just pull it down, you're not gonna give it that wear and tear.
Oh, no,
So that'll wear it out.
It'll
so
just be
fast.
gone.
Yeah.
we seen what the golf course was like, when they had that
Oh,
stuff hanging,
Yeah.
it was over in our.
So our thinking is that, we would just, up the time, we got labor, and we'll just help, take it down, fold it up, put it away.
Yeah.
And then have it out there again in the winter, and then we're all good for that.
I just have a question. Typically, the town is the last person to come to for money. And so I'm just wondering, if there's any discussion about doing fundraisers or applying or talking to anybody that might sponsor them, GFL, maybe some of the other organizations and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think.
We're dealing with a huge expense with the downtown project and potential work on the other stuff as well. And I know it's not a large amount, but I think that has typically been the question beforehand, is how much funding have you raised already to date before you come to the town? This is the mandate that I understood last term as well, so.
But they're, at this point, they're committing 25% of the cost.
Mhm, yeah.
Yeah, and would we be willing to go and raise some more money? Sure.
Gee, is that fundraising or is that membership?
That's membership fees and, over, we've just been gradually growing it. There's no point in holding cash.
Mhm.
May as well put it to work.
Yeah.
And if you can do something, get a project that will benefit the community and benefit the club. And we're thinking, well, what would we do? Well, this is one option, But the other thing is to come to the town. It is your facility, and is it something that you want to do? You do have a lot of priorities. Is this something that you want to do? And
Because I think there was a huge investment to do that in the first place, to provide
oh, yeah.
another venue for the pickleball group and anybody involved to grow the association and such. So, yeah, just a thought. I'm sure I wouldn't be the only one asking the question and such. So just putting it
Yeah,
out
no,
there.
it's, we're here, for feedback and, are we about ready to go and do some more lifting? You bet. And, the town has the ability to give a receipt, like a tax receipt. We're willing to do that. We have a couple of ideas. Our initial idea was to actually just sell the advertising, but then again,
That's a lot of work.
that might not, and we are also looking at some other companies to see what they would do, and we are prepared to go and do that. It's not an issue.
Because you're not the only ones who use it.
Right. Yeah.
Or is it mostly pickleball? There are some.
Tennis.
Is there anything else that can be?
Cricket.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the cricket boys, they're out there winging off there, yeah. They come and play pickleball, but it's actually the same guy.
But primarily right now, they would be the primary user.
But it's so windy all the time that I know a lot of the windy communities have put up windscreens for that exact reason, because people aren't using it because every time it's a little bit windy, you can't use it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we're pretty hardy.
Yeah.
It's just another challenge,
Yeah, but volleyball or the, whatever it is.
It's not a
they're
tennis
using
ball.
Isn't more, it's more like a badminton.
Well, it's a
something,
wiffle
or-
ball. That holes in it.
So it's not very, doesn't fight the wind very much.
It just kind of is what it is, you play and, but what, there's certain days that it just, you're just not gonna go out there. And it's no different than golfing or anything else. But I think it would be an improvement for the facility. The pickleball is growing. We're starting to see quite a bit more activity even around us. So, Drumheller is growing quite a bit. Dean and Cindy, you've been down to Youngstown is starting. Oyen, like we're starting to see it grow kind of everywhere. And yeah, Delia has a group there. It's just starting to grow. And so it is something that has potential. It's it's something you can play for quite a while in your life. And what we're seeing at tournaments and is a lot of young kids playing. The age group, you think, well, it's just seniors. It's becoming younger and younger and younger. And it's now they have the pro pickleball league. Kids are getting more and more excited about it. Sharon and I, we went to a youth event that Dean helps organize for pickleball in Alberta. We went to a youth event in Edmonton. Sharon and I played. We played not too bad. We didn't get more than 2 points on some kids that were 15 years old. Like they're good.
You finally met your match.
Yeah, no problem. We've more than met our match. But these two young kids were pretty good, and they just went above right away.
Your practice more, Jay.
Yeah. Yeah. We gotta practice to stay the same. But it's, we won't take any more of your time. You guys are busy. You got lots of stuff on your agenda, but we will leave it to you. You can get back to us through Kim. Let us know what you think you want.
Just one of the last things is that you have to understand, under the category, what pickleball does is you've got a very much increased utilization of the symphony in place. You've got 16 players times 2, made $6 a night. So there's an income that's generated from that. we've also as a group, been glad to help out with the defibrillator.
Yeah.
So we just not want to take the vehicle, well, so.
So the courts, though, they're, you can visit, as long as they're free, you can go on it for any time, there's no, you don't.
Yeah,
have to
on the
sign
outdoor
in or
ones, I'm just saying as the club.
Yeah, I understand,
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if there was any kind of register for the outdoor.
Not at this
Facility.
point. We
Okay.
haven't had the competing interests that are looking for that at the same time. So.
Yeah, if there is, then we just schedule it. That's just a schedule. And there's lots of room for someone to play tennis. Quite often, we're out there playing and we can have 4 courts going, and someone playing tennis, and that happens quite often, and that's perfect for us. You know, if kids come out there and want to play tennis, like, we just welcome them, like, we just try, and it's kind of the same as in Centennial Place. Sometimes you're there and kids are playing basketball, they just divide it in half and say, there you are. You know, they're down shooting hoops at one end, and like there's 3 or 4 kids. We don't want to have the idea that we're there to dominate or use those facilities. We want to see them used by youth and by other people. And so if they come to sharing and it gets to be that someone has another project or program, let's just meet and schedule it. Same as you would with the arena or any other facility. That's just schedule it. And that's just make sure that everybody has a facility they can use. It belongs to the town.
And that's a good problem.
If we have that problem, yeah, all the better,
All the better, yeah.
all the better. So, and it's great. It's been a great facility. We enjoyed the relationship we have with the town and we appreciate it. And so we're ready to step up and do some stuff here to try and improve the facility.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
We got a motion to, thank Jay and his group from the Pickleball Club for their presentation and proposal. Lynn's tennis pickleball courts. Council Murphy, all in favor?
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Okay, good night.
thank you pickleballers.
Any public presentation? Sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Moore?
No less.
Moving on to the minutes of the meeting. Any questions, concerns? Motion to accept the regular minutes of council, April 9th, 2024, to be adopted and presented. Council Olson, all in favor? Carried. Motion for the minutes of the information session held on April 24th, 2024, be adopted and presented. Motion. Council Warwick, all in favor? Carried. Financial report, Mr. Hill.
Just, guess accounts payable to start with, so
Okay.
if there's any questions?
I got one from last night, it was about, purchase of piece, I think it was fire equipment that Kim had purchased. I was wondering why. I thought the fire department.
That was the one on the credit card?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I explained to Councilor Thurl, so that was for instructor level course, and so fire department doesn't have its own credit
Yeah.
card, so they use mine most of the time, so.
No, that's what I needed to know. It's just thought they had their own credit system.
It'll get coded to.
Yeah.
fire, but-
Yeah. No, that answers that question.
Any questions? Motion to accept the payable listings from general account for information check 43064 to 43083, direct deposit 002945 to 003019, electronic transfer batch number 854 and 857. Motion, Council Thurl, all in favor? Carried. Statement of revenue. Questions? Seeing none, council accept the statement of revenue and expense report for April 2024 for information. Motion, Councilor Murphy, all in favor? Carried. Budget overview. Questions? Motion set to see budget overview for April 2024 for information. Motion. Council Olson, all in favor? Carried. Committee reports. Community services board.
Can I give the one from last night? Cause I already gave the 25th, that last meeting.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
We haven't got the ones done from last night.
Oh, okay,
These are the March 25th.
March 25th. That's the one that we did the overview for the funds for the
Rates and fees.
rates and fees. That was basically that night, so pretty well spent.
Yeah, as I was reading through this, I thought,
Yeah.
this is not last week, and it was, yeah,
Yeah.
March. Yeah.
No, that was basically that meeting, week.
Right.
And the kids were just doing their dance pretty well and.
Okay, motion to accept. Committee report as presented. Councilor Thurl, all in favor? Carried.
I'm just watching.
CEO Bill,
Couple things, downtown redevelopment project. So we are meeting tomorrow afternoon. We have our startup meeting with the contractor and engineers. They're hoping to then schedule some time to potentially tomorrow, but some other days they want to need to meet with each business, in terms of, what the requirements are for, temporary water. So there will be significant number of, outside hose bibs have to be, put in place because most of our buildings, in the downtown don't have the outside hose bibs. They are anticipating to start the actual work and construction on June 10th. That's the day they've got in the schedule. So hear a little bit more about it tomorrow afternoon, when we meet with them. So that's good. It's moving forward that way. Nothing else on the other engineering, projects to report, any real changes. Again, Pioneer Trail, still waiting on work. Did you have a question, Kelsey?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Have they done any of that work on some of the buildings they were gonna do for vibration situations?
Well,
or
that-
that's still yet?
That will happen. They will put monitors on the building.
Okay, I
that
thought they
will-
were gonna assess them or something beforehand.
No, they won't necessarily assess them, but they'll put vibration monitors on the building so they'll know and what level to exceed or not exceed, just so
Okay.
they have an idea. So,
Thank you.
community center kitchen, even though we had successful stagehand events, it's not quite finished. But very close. We were able to use the kitchen for the event. So I'm not sure, I haven't had a report this week, but I believe Sinkler's Plumbing was in earlier this week to, install the makeup air unit. So once it's done, then we need to, connect the exhaust fire suppression system into the fire alarm. And there's some tin, if anybody's peeked their head into the kitchen, there's some tin work above the existing hood to the roof, a foot or two that has to be completed yet. So, but other than that, it's working. The other thing, just wanted to mention, I don't know if Lori was gonna mention it, but I don't know if you've heard, but our Nickelback signs are on our entrance signs now. So, probably hear about that, but, they're up, on the signs, I think as of yesterday. So that's up, we're moving into, swimming pool season, so I don't think council's aware. The swimming pool is scheduled to open on Saturday. Everything's going according to plan. Things have been going well. Lacrosse hosting some home games. this week, a Thursday night for the first real games in in Hanna. And, we've moved into the, markets and weekly markets at the curling rink. Had a successful ball hockey tournament there on Saturday. Brendan Ronson organized it, so it was a fundraiser. They want to and have been providing the town with their fundraising dollars. They want to install fence around the outdoor rink to keep pucks in when they play hockey and ball hockey. Parks, same old things. We're really gonna hit the circuit with the mowers now with this rain last week. Grass is, so we'll be out mowing. Just normal startup stuff in regards to that. Every season, I think, is in play. Ball started, seals will start next week. Lacrosse has been going since mid-April, so things are moving along there. Kevin has a list of some surplus equipment auction items he'd like to sell, so we're probably gonna bring that back to council at the next meeting to get approval to sell. A lot of it is materials, so bricks, different things like that that we've got quite a bit stored up of. Some equipment from the kitchen, exhaust hoods, fans, stuff like that, so we'll need permission from council to put them up for
Do
sale.
we get any tenders on the oven and the?
We did get a one tender on the oven and the grill. We did sell the grill. I think it was $100. But we did not sell the convection oven, so it would be part of that sale. We just felt it was worth more than the bid that we had gotten. And again, it's worth something to someone who needs a convection oven, so you kind of limit your audience, but we know that it's worth more than what was offered, so. The only other thing I wanted to remind council of to put in your week is, or in your calendar, is Seniors Week. So June 3rd to 7th. So I believe it is June 4th, Mr. Mayor. Tuesday is the Mayor's Garden Party at 11:30, 12 at the community center. So if anybody is able to make it to assist, it would be greatly appreciated.
I'll be there. I'll bring my rubber gloves.
Tuesday the 4th, June 4th.
Something else.
Yeah, I don't think I can make it.
The senior, there's something else.
I don't
Well, there's
think so.
activities during
There's
seniors week
there's things
activities,
that
Every
week,
day.
the Scapa has their tea on the 3rd.
but there'll be
On the
morning and
Monday.
afternoon things going.
I think the Legion is having their coffee that Tuesday morning, but not,
When's Jim's,
Jim's is on Wednesday, Wednesday the 5th, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we kind of scheduled the senior stuff,
Make it a week.
traditionally and around each other, so we're not on the same. If there was something else that might be happening that I'm not sure of, but. Seniors
Around
Weekend
11-ish,
activities.
right? Would be,
Yeah,
11.
11:30, yeah.
Just so we could be there to help.
Yeah.
Set up.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't know if there's anything, unless council has any questions on anything, I'll do my best to answer. Fox Lake Park is open. So,
For camping.
yes. Yeah, full services, water's turned on,
I
so
think there's 7 trailers out there.
something like that.
Already.
Did we get the water turned on to the ball diamonds?
Yeah,
Just some soccer players were squawking, they didn't have drinking water, so.
water's been on there for quite a while, like the
Clean up.
triplex.
Since they did the.
Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
that's, yeah. They were in there complaining, I went, I don't.
It was off for maybe a day because there was a leak that Kevin had to fix.
Okay,
But that was just a half a day or a day that he made that repair, but
okay, perfect. Lori?
I, don't have a lot to provide, as Kim said, the signs are complete, and the one at Fox Lake was a new addition from our previous sign project that we were able to slide in with, some of the grant money that Harvest Sky had left over, so we got a few projects done there, got a good park graphic done for website brochures, that kind of thing that we can use in lots of places along with having the sign done. A lot of operational stuff, happening in the last 2 months in my department, gearing up for spring. Gearing up for swimming lessons, epic adventures, new staff, this the whole 9 yards.
Any questions of Lloyd?
Just a comment, it was raised last night at our community services board, just as a question about the weekly flyers that we're putting in the mailbox. Are you guys getting any feedback, positive, negative on it from anyone? Have you heard anything? I guess if you do, we'd like to know. We've been doing this now for 3 months, in there, and I know it's really the only paper product that people can put their hands on, but just haven't had any feedback, positive or negative on it delivered to us. Just wondering if you guys are hearing anything from anybody.
The only thing I can say is when you pick up the mail, the recycle bin isn't full of ours.
Yeah.
So it seems to be at least going home.
I know at CSB last night, we talked a little bit about it. One of our board members indicates she likes it, she sees it, and she always, if she says if there's something there that I know I want to partake in, or there's a particular date or something, I take it home, I put it on my fridge, so. But we haven't had little feedback, and just was curious if anybody on council was getting any feedback.
My personal feedback is, it's been a little, it needs to be refined, where, you know, the text is going all the way to the edges. It honestly looks like it was designed by someone in high school. And I'm, to be honest, I'm really disappointed at the quality, and I'm hoping that they will improve over time. But that does not look like something that came out of this office. Everything else that's ever been designed is beautiful, but these are, you know, the text is all crooked, and anyways, and then the colors, of course, were off the charts.
Well,
So-
the colors are an issue we were having with our copy.
Yeah, our copiers.
It says, did not function well for a number of weeks.
Because I know, you know, I did a lot of the designing for stuff, and it's just, it really needs some work.
We don't have the budget to hire a professional graphic artist to do that. So we work with what we can afford. And the time that we have allotted.
It's cheaper than you think.
Okay,
Mr. Olson?
are you sure it's Mr. Olson?
Nothing really, nothing to add to my report, other than, street sweeping was going good. We did have to do, bearing went out, so we were working on that. And then we took today to repair some curb stops. Some homeowners want to do some work in their basement or in their house. So we had 4 that we worked on today, took us all day to get them new operating rods turned on, so. And we're doing sewer flushing, but like you say, as other stuff comes up, we leave, we'll do that and come back. Well,
The next week is our spring cleanup, so for compost and leaves, patches and stuff, so,
and we talk about it every year, and it says week, but it's not. You're supposed to have everything out on the weekend, and then we do one run. We don't do it all week. So we usually go through first run, picking up bags of leaves, but it has to be strictly leaves. If there's garbage in it, the dump won't let us take out there. So we usually cut the bags open, dump them in the loader bucket, make sure that they're bagged.
they're not
properly.
contaminated.
So we go around, we do leaves, and we do trees, and they have to be nicely cut. They can't be a full tree sitting there. And then we do metal, and your fridges have to be called in and receipt. So generally, it takes us about 3 days to get it done.
I'd make a comment too that, I did see a comment about, somebody asking where the paper bins were. And, you know, after years and years and years of people of them putting up signs saying, do not do this or whatever, or it'll be taken away. And, they still continue to do that and now it's gone. So is that a possibility if there is more garbage put in, or you would still do it?
No, if it gets to the point where we're trying to separate garbage
Mhm.
bags, I mean, if we open it up or we see a garbage bag that's contaminated, we leave it.
Mhm.
Because Sean, I mean, that's just
Yeah.
extra work for us.
Yeah. Well, and it was extra work for them with the garbage bins, and it just, everybody else pays a price because some are not willing to follow the rules, so.
And if they won't take it, then we're sending a truck all the way to Youngstown.
At
It's not
at
something-
taxpayers' expenses.
It's something we don't wanna do.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Brent, I have had a few people ask me about, I know we have everything online, advertising for the street sweeping, which is great, a great schedule. But I have quite a few people that feel like they are not connected to social media or the internet with that signage, not being aware. And they asked me about having street sweeper signs. Has that been something, I know in the past,
Problem with street sweeping signs are, it's kind of like snow removal. So the sweeper goes faster than the grader, just like depending on how much snow we have. So we don't have enough signs to put out where we're going. So if we put it out on one block and we don't get to where we're getting, then people are complaining, well, the signs are up, I moved the vehicle and nobody showed up. Or if the sweeper breaks down. So we try to do it on Facebook and we try to post where we're gonna be. We're going to be in the east end of town. Please watch for the sweeper and move as we come. We have tried signs before, but it just, we end up getting more flack about the signs than not having the signs.
so virtually right now, like with your guys's social media presence, do you find that most of the vehicles are off the streets and people are prepared for those areas then?
Some people are very, very handy. Mrs. Fishbuck is one that will notify people if we're coming, she'll post. But a lot of people, once they see the sweeper, like, Randy got into the new end of town. We call it the new end. It's not. But once we got into the north end, he said vehicles started moving right away for him. A lot of the vehicles that don't move are vehicles that don't move anywhere. So, you know, like
So,
yeah. So most of the people are really good when we get there. It's just a lot of the cost of the signs to put them out and then to chase them down. And if we have a breakdown or a water issue or cremation, we try to post and then we try to post if we're not coming. We try to do everything on the social media map and I know not everybody's connected to it, but word of mouth is actually.
And at the end of the day, it's nice, but it's not critical that the vehicles are moved.
you just go around them.
We go around them. It's not the end of the world and it's a different piece of equipment to operate than the grader. It's a lot harder with the grader going around vehicles. So that's why in the winter, we do put signs up because it's more important for them to move. The street sweeper can move around it quite easily.
So just on that, like how often, like how long does it take to do the whole town? Like in 3 weeks, do you have the whole town done and then you start over again? Is that kind of the cycle
No,
or?
we usually just do it once in the spring and once in the fall.
Oh, I see, okay,
Is what we try.
okay.
But we have had this year, a few people have phoned and said, hey, I was out. I moved my vehicle, can you come back? And we have sent Randy back with the sweeper and done the gutter for them if they notice. I mean, we're good with that because it's, like you say, it's a different piece. We can just wheel in and fix it up.
Okay, thanks.
It's probably a 2 to 3 week process with no breakdowns or no.
No other rain or no other.
Especially in the spring, it's a lot heavier in the spring. We generally will do it in the fall after the majority of the leaves have fallen, and that one goes quicker.
And does that prevent our gutters from getting clogged with all the stuff
It helps. A lot of people will cut the boulevards, throw the grass onto the street. As soon as we get a rain, it clogs the gutters. So when we have a rain, or we know there's a rainstorm coming, like when it says it's gonna be 90%, the guys will go out and actually drive the the streets and try and clear the gutters
Oh, I
in
see.
preparation for it. But generally, I mean, we did all the sweeping and all those poplar trees have dropped all that fuzz, so we have all those fuzz on the ground too. So we do try to keep them on that. And grading of the alleys, as you guys have probably noticed, if you look at Petrocan, their yard is, there's lots of house boils coming up. Even though it doesn't look like we had a lot of moisture, the frost drives in on a lot of the areas. So we've taken the grader out a couple times and we've actually started to make things worse. You can see it break. So what we generally do is once we get through this cleanup, we end up with a tandem dump truck and our loader. If they don't make any issues as we're going through, the grader starts and so we hope to have the sweeping done so that Braden can go on the grader and then we can keep with the sewer flushing. Or else I'll run the sweeper if they're not down there or west. We'll try to keep going with what we're doing. But that's the plan. If anybody's saying about the graders not being out, we usually wait till after May long. If we get some heat, it tightens back up. Councillor Thorough would understand that too. We have a frost boil right in the middle of everywhere, yeah.
You mentioned loader, did the new one show up?
No, the new one is expected, it sounds like it's in Red Deer and we're just waiting for the coupler to come. Cause we ordered specific the coupler so that we don't have to order new forks and the blade and everything will interchange. So he was going to let me know, so I'm hoping next week we will be putting the loader out for tender. With a for sale sign and give it a couple weeks for people to come and take a look at it and go from there on that one.
Yeah, we were gonna just trade it in, but we had some local interest in it. So we basically said to the local interest that we couldn't just directly sell to them, but we would put it up for auction, but we would expect to get a minimum of this
X
amount from it, because that's what we could have got on the trade-in. So, and the individual who's expressed interest had said that he would be willing to pay that much. And there might be some others out there that may want to pay more, but so we said we would put it and advertise it and then,
Close tender and.
yeah.
With a reserve bid at that minimum.
No, we wouldn't have a reserve bid. We just wouldn't accept one if it was.
Just not
below
all.
that.
Yeah, we know what we were gonna get for trade-in. We
Yeah.
don't wanna advertise that.
Right.
So
Right. You
Yeah,
just won't
if-
accept it if you get one that's.
that's low. I have had a couple people call on it.
Good.
So we'll see what happens. We'll go from there.
Excellent. No, I just heard it was close, so
Yeah, it's closed.
I just was kind of excited, this, yeah.
And we did, we found a hydraulic leak on the loader we want to trade in, so we fixed it and I told them to park it. Because I would like to sell it
anything else.
before we do any other stuff with it. No, it's in good shape. It was just a small little pinholes. So hopefully in a week or so, 2 weeks, early June.
Okay, any other questions for Brent? Hearing none, can we get a motion?
Oh, it was nice to see just on a side note, nice to see the town staff involved in stage Hanna. Yeah.
But don't quit your day job.
And
No.
maybe- Just putting it out there.
Yeah.
No, it was good.
Thank you, we had a lot of
Thank
fun.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay, motion to accept the senior administrative official report 8.01 to 8.03 for information. Motion. Councilor Thorough, all in favor? Carried. Financial report, statement. We've all had a chance to kind of peek at it. Do you have any other questions? Hearing none. Council moves or approves the 2023 financial statements as presented by Ascend Chartered Professional Accountants and a 2023 financial statements of advertising made available for public present inspection on the Town of Hanna website and the Town of Hanna office during regular office hours. Motion. Counselor Olson, all in favor? Carried. Twenty twenty-three budget adjustments, sorry.
Actually, we're had a typo on the agenda, it's 2024.
Yeah,
So, just a follow-up to our, council information meeting, where we went through spring budget adjustments and potential tax rate, options, Mr. Mayor, so nothing has, changed since, that point. I'm sure you don't want me to go through all of that again,
No.
so, basically, at the end of the day, these would be our spring budget adjustments if council approves them, and they are based on the tax rate that will be before council later this evening.
questions? Recommend a motion that whereas council approved the twenty twenty-four operating budget and capital budget for the town of Hanna for December 12th, 2023 council meeting, and whereas the adjustment to adopt the budget required for various reasons prior to setting the 2024 tax rate, and whereas the 2024 operating capital budget has been adjusted to reflect a decrease of 3% charge change in the residential municipal from 2023 and a 1% decrease to the non-residential municipal tax rate from 2023, and a transfer of surplus in the amount of $6,140. Therefore, council adopts the operating and capital budget dated May 14th, 2024, as amended at the spring, as by the spring budget adjustments, and accepts the 2025-2026 operating budgets and the 2025 to 2027 capital for information. Motion. Councilor Murphy, all in favor? Carried. Pickleball club.
So I don't know if there's much to add. I think Mr. Slemp presented the proposal well. Certainly would be prepared to answer any questions if council had them.
My only comment is I'm happy to see the facility getting used. That's been the goal from day one for everything we have. Yeah, I'm happy to come in with something, not just ask them for full coverage for it. Provide the manpower, which is always a struggle. Yeah, I'm happy with their proposal. I would have some discussion, but I'd happily make that motion.
Full court.
Yep, all four sides. Yeah.
Council Roden,
And I know I'm not gonna be popular or whatever, but I'm not anyway, so, it's just, I think, I'd like to see if they can come back with another, option. The minute, like I said, that was the initial thing that I understood, is that the town was the last person you come to for funding. And that, I'd like to see a group doing, fundraising or whatever to, be able to provide more input and stuff, how much was spent in doing that, and accounting for, and I'm glad there is more use of it and everything, but are we setting a precedence for people to just come to the town in the first place and without, other options?
Yeah, I guess my only comment to that is that it is the town's facility, so they need to have our approval moving forward. I agree with Councilor Olson. It's nice to see groups coming forward with some contribution, whether council believes 25% is enough, whether it should be 50-50, 25-75. At least they did come to the table with a commitment versus coming to the table saying, we need windscreens. Town, please do it for us at your cost. So, like I said, I think they'd be willing to work if council was not prepared to fund the proposal as they put forward, and council wanted a different cost sharing mechanism. I think they would work with that. It would probably delay the project a little bit and they'd have to do a little bit of work, but, certainly that is an option. And when I talked with Jay, initially, my comment to him was, you know, and that's why he put it that way, if you only chose to do 2 sides or 3 sides or 4 sides, you know, they would be willing to phase it in, but, I think at this point, he did use the 25% figure. And cause I know from their club where they sit financially at this point, if we said they were gonna do 2 sides at $4,000 and we asked them for 2,000, that's all that they've got at the moment. They'd have to then, if we wanted to do more, come up with some more for a second phase or third phase. So certainly it's up to council which direction they want to go on this. And the other direction is if you need more information, you can always table it. So
I know I go past there a couple of times a week and it seems to be more utilized than it has been in the past. Again, recreation is one of those things that doesn't make you money.
No, it doesn't. And, but we also represent, 40 out of 2,500 population. You know, I guess we represent everybody in the community, and the price isn't the issue. It's trying to represent the entire community, fairly, I suppose. Yeah, that's it.
And actually, I think we need to talk about a broader spectrum here. I've had a lot of conversations in our community this week, and we have more people that are going to be coming forward for asks. And whether it's right or whether it's wrong, I don't know. But I have a couple questions. First, the CFIP, the Communities Facilities Enhancement Program, is that an opportunity for some of these groups to access some dollars from that organization? Do you know what the timelines or what the capacity?
well, there is deadlines on them. I think they are quarterly. They're generally, this project is pretty small for community facility enhancement program. Like that would be one, the golf course got 125,000.
They're generally larger scale.
So it's probably would be available. I don't think the club would qualify because at minimum you have to be a registered society.
Okay.
So that's the kind of the minimum you have to be. And I know they call themselves a club, but they're not a registered society.
Okay. And as Councillor Bolden indicated, we come to the point, and I think we're going to be at a crossroads here quite quickly. Indicated here, we have another community group that is asking for $8,000 as well. Who do you give to and who do you say no to? And I think just after some conversations around how this works in our community, I think maybe the bigger picture for me is we need to look at our community services grant and maybe what that looks like with those dollars and having it maybe a matching capacity where, you know what, if you bring 25%, you know what, the community services grant. I'm just putting this out there because I don't know where we begin and where we end when people from the community, non-for-profits, come to the table and want money. And I know some of these facilities are ours. The community gardens is another one that's on here too. The property is owned by the town, is that correct? It's owned by
Alberta Health.
Alberta Health Services, okay. And so, I mean, they, allude to, what that adds to the community too, for participation in that as well. But I think, at some point in time, I'd like to have a conversation around, that community services grant and maybe what that looks like and the timelines for application for applying for that, maybe for some of our community activities so that we can give fair opportunity to each and every individual and organization in our community. I don't know, just some ideas.
The only comment I would have about community services board grants is they have a total of $3,000.
Yeah.
But we can change that.
100%.
Yeah, so that
100%.
doesn't, we're not, those are not, we can have $16,000, we can have 5, we can have whatever the town wants to put for it. And if we want to divide those grants, that's why I'm saying I think we should have some conversation. Because in the last 2 years, as I sit at the table here, Who am I to say that you can have this amount of money and you can have this amount, but you can't have any? I mean, I think yes, and so if we had, you know, the opportunity for the grant with so many dollars and an understanding of how that grant process worked, would that not create some boundaries and some understanding of dollars that are available to our community members that would be fair and reasonable? And I mean, if you didn't get it this year like it is now, you have the opportunity. I mean, there was years in the past, I remember one year for sure that, you know, nobody even applied for that grant. It was left, you know, untouched for that 1 year. I don't know about other years, but 1 year for sure. So I don't know, just some thoughts about, you know, being equitable and fair to all community organizations at some level is, you know, and showing that we can support them at those levels as well.
I think,
Councilor Murphy?
I'm sorry.
So here's my view on this. If you have hockey players in the arena and they notice that every time they skate around the corner, one of the lights is glaring and blinding everybody, they'd come and let you know there's a problem with the lights. We don't turn to that hockey player and say, oh, and yet you have to pay for it. It's not their facility, it's our facility. They're willing, but if that hockey player said, I'm willing to put some money towards it, please fix that light, we fix it. So we're in one of the windiest places in the planet. Everybody knows that. We have this wonderful setup. It's working great. People are out there, but we didn't put windscreen on. They're saying, listen, it won't just help us. It helps everybody if there's windscreen on. I think it's wonderful that that group is willing to put 25% down because they don't own the windscreen. We do. But it's not the same if you have a group coming to us saying, we would like $3,000 to buy tutus because we have a dance recital coming up next week. We don't have the money. This is someone saying, we'd like you to enhance the facility you own, and we're willing to put money towards it. And I think that's the difference between this request and every other request that we've had when people would like money towards, they're not asking for money, they're asking for a windscreen, which is our facility. So that's how I view it. So I don't think it fits in the same category as a group coming in and asking for money. That's my view.
Well, product is money.
No, I'm fine.
They don't own it.
No, they don't.
No. So
It's no different than the baseball diamonds asking for sea cans. Are they asking for ownership over the sea cans? The town owns that property. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I am just saying, how do you equate each one of them? Is every ask relevant? Is every ask something we accommodate? I'm not saying whether, like I said, whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, is every ask that comes to the table, should we be saying, yeah, okay, you know what, I want the moon, the stars, the skies, and whatever else it is. And yeah, I mean, is it an extra? I don't know. It makes sense that you would have a windscreen to prevent the wind. I mean, we've never had it in the last several years for the tennis players, but you know what, maybe it's a different, I don't know, because I'm not a pickleball player. I don't know the relevance of the whole situation. But, and I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I'm saying, how do we decide on the dollars that constantly go out? We have these other asks before us too. Are we giving a handout to everybody that comes to the council table to ask for those dollars? And if that is the consensus of the council,
We have a discussion on everything that comes to the table.
right?
Well, I think that's sort of, the thing is, there's a bit of a gray area and sometimes, well, we can each pitch in a little bit more of that group to pay for this. But there's also, you know, Harvest Sky, you know, do they have any extra that might be able to, help out and put more money towards that? I guess is putting more legwork into it to see if there is maybe a sponsor that might be willing to cover that. It doesn't mean that we don't agree with it. It's just, like, where do you draw the line? You know, is it gonna be benches? Is it gonna be, or whatever else? It always ends up being, you know, a limited, or an endless ask for everybody is once you start, and I guess that was what I understood is in the previous term is that we had to, that the town would be the last person they would come to after they exhausted all the other opportunities. Whether they do the Friesen Brothers, barbecue, which you can raise money towards or whatever. There's other ways and that is all I was saying is that, you know, has there been other alternatives that they've looked at, you know, approaching other groups that are in the position to be able to put the money out versus the town? It
You don't
seems like
know that
the
they
town
haven't.
is, it appears that the town is always the one, not always, but is quite often and could be more on a regular basis if we don't ask, you know, what else have you done in order to help raise funds to do that? Then to say, yeah, you put in 25%, that's great. Have you done anything else to be able to maybe come up with the other money? It's just saying, what other options have you done? You know, where you see some people that have done, all sorts of things, in order to raise money and that's great. And yeah, let's help them out because they've done this, that, and the other thing, and they are still short of what they need in order to make whatever. Is all I'm saying is what other effort have you put in than to just say, well, we'll put this presentation towards and come to the town for the asking for the balance.
Council Wood?
So I guess my other question is where do we take this money from? Like, okay, if we're gonna give $8,000, where does this money come from?
So
What part of our budget?
what I suggested in my, background information is that we could code it to our parks goods budget. With the caveat that we don't know through the year as we move forward, what we're gonna need in parks. Sometimes we're under budget, sometimes we're not. So you could code it there. At the end of the day, if things go well, maybe we're still on budget at the end of the year, but likely we may go over, but we might not go over by the full 6,000. We might go over by 2. But again, it's part of the overall $10 million budget we have. So that would be where if council allocated us and gave us direction to move forward, that's where we would code it, would be to that budget line.
And if you exceed that budget, then we would just transfer out of reserves to cover the.
Well, potentially, as we've seen a good example with our audit this evening, we still found ourselves in an operating surplus in 2023. And knock on wood, generally, we have been fortunate. We have found ourselves in that surplus position. If we don't at the end of the year, then you would have to draw from reserves to balance any deficit.
But every year that comes up with more money,
So
we're
I guess-
now to play with
yeah.
RCP, we're now
One at a
having to
time,
pay for this,
No, but what I'm
Thing,
saying,
right?
what I'm
To
saying,
account for.
what I'm saying at the end of the day, the budget is our guideline that we move forward with. At the end of the day, and I've said this to Brent, if we budget $40,000 for water and sewer repairs, and we've hit $40,000 and we've got more repairs, we don't just say, well, we're not fixing them because we don't have the dollars. It's a guideline. Generally, you're gonna be over in some areas, you'll be under in some areas, and like I said, when we looked at our financial statement for 2023, we had an operating surplus.
and I guess Mike is.
Oh, Council Wood?
So $8,000 is is the pickled ball. Okay, so how much was asked for, how much was the C-CAN gonna cost then? Was that
Four.
4,000? So that will also come out of the same, that will also
That
come
would
out of
be-
parks.
That would come out of ball funds.
So that's ball diamond, that's
Yeah.
separate than
Yeah.
parks? Okay, and then so if we decided to do the community garden, which is another $7,000, where would that money come from?
could come from parks. It would probably go, I would think, because they're looking for a cash donation to their organization.
Right.
So it would probably go under council promo or a council item. because they're asking for dollars to their organization.
So virtually we'd be taking $19,000.
It's only.
Well, council's already approved the
This-
4 in
Yes.
the
for the
CCAN.
season, of course.
So, and we're looking at a net of 6 on the pickleball. So, if council approves.
I'm just trying to figure out all the numbers of, I mean, when people ask me, honestly, I say to them, and not to be rude, but just say like, you know what, the money has to come somewhere. There's only one cupboard. So how much taxes do you want to pay to have all these extra things?
Yeah.
I mean, we only have one parcel of money. And not saying that this is not a need and it's not a necessity, but we only have one parcel of money. How do we decide how all of those dollars get spent?
And
That's a question.
that's your primary role as a
Yes.
counselor to decide how
That
that
is
money is
correct.
allocated.
And that's why I proposed, if we had a format per se, that not on a, individual basis by basis item or event or scenario or whatever, that we decide on those dollars, but we have a fair and equitable process that we could support all of our community members. Because, when you look at this, okay, this is important to somebody, but this is also important to another body of people. And so, you know what, we are a community of much diversity and uniqueness, so.
Council Bowden?
I think in my opinion, as far as the community garden would be in the same boat. What has been done? Pardon?
Sorry,
Did you have something you wanted to say? or-
no, I'm trying to follow your line of thinking.
And I
Well,
think,
just wait till I finish asking a question or making a comment. As far as, if a group is coming, like, what other effort have they put in to contribute towards raising that money that they're looking for? From my understanding, the Ball Diamond people, got together and I may be way out of line or whatever, but may have gotten together. They did a cleanup in the area. They end up, doing all sorts of things with the diamond to make it better, because there's some people on that, some of the parents that have some experience in ball diamonds that they can see certain things that they want that would be an asset for that group or for that facility as well. So they put in blood, sweat and tears in order to try and improve it as well.
Okay,
So is that not, in kind?
so pickleball has come up with $2,000 of their own money for this project.
Yeah, and
And
have
that's,
they raised any other money? And that's what, the same boat is what I would say with the gardening, is that, okay, you're looking at this money, have you raised any other money? What have you done to help contribute towards the amount of ask that you're coming to the town for?
so all we can work off of is what they have proposed at this point in time. So they have proposed 25% contribution to the project. And they have proposed its help with the installation of the screens if it moves forward, and helping with taking it down at the end of the year and putting it up every spring, summer. So that's what they brought to the table.
That is a bit in kind.
And I can't speak to anything else with the organization, but that's what they brought forward and have it on at the table before you this evening. Council has options, like I said, council can opt to fund the screen with the 25% contribution, the full floor, 3 sides, 2 sides. Council could go back to them and say, we like your proposal, but we think you need to put in more. Maybe your contribution needs to be 50% or 75%. And then the ball's back on their court to come up with more dollars for the project to move forward.
okay, we beat this up quite a bit tonight. We've got some really good discussion on both sides of it. We can A, table it. B, we can put a motion to support it. We can C, make a motion to send it back to them asking for more input. Counselor Olson?
I'll make a motion that we contribute the $6,000 accept their donation of 2 and the time to put it up and take it down.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Bylaws.
Doesn't matter.
10.01. Bylaw 10/34/2024, the 2024 tax rate bylaw.
So, Mr. Mayor, just a little bit of background, as council's aware, our assessments increased, significantly, both residentially and non-residentially. We talked at our, council information meeting about, how much we can decrease the municipal tax rate. Consensus from council, at that meeting was to decrease the, residential, tax by 3% and the non-residential by 1%. There is some slight tweaks, a decrease to property tax and to Acadia Foundation. Generally, if this bylaw is given 3 readings tonight, it will drop the residential and farm tax charged by about $500,000, so from a tax rate. And when I say this tax rate, it includes the school requisition, Acadia Foundation as well. It will go from 14.3476 to 13.8080. The non-residential tax rate will go from 18.1474 to 17.9507. Generally, as you look at the comparators, 15 non-residential properties, 15 residential properties. 3 of the 15 properties with this 3% decrease in taxes will see a decrease. The other 12 will see an increase, and most of the increase is based on how much their assessment increase from year to year. But it is, most of them are, unless there's a significant increase in their assessment, most of them are probably under $50 a year. So non-residential, again, worked out equivalent. There's 3 that will see a decrease in their taxes, 12 that will see an increase in their taxes. Again, it's proportionate as we move across the board. So I don't know if there's any more questions, any more discussion. This generates, as we mentioned in our approved budget, this will generate about $80,000 more municipal tax revenue than we generated in 2023.
So if we left it the same, what was the total, $180,000?
I don't have that figure in front of me, Councilor Thorough, but I think it was closer to 150.
Yeah.
150,000 if we did not decrease the tax rates and just left the assessments and the same tax rates.
Yeah, it never hurt nobody to pay the last year's tax, that's what I was looking at.
But there would be an increase
There's an
though.
increase
Just because
because
they're
of the
assessments.
assessment.
Yeah.
But
But
on paper,
on paper,
we're not increasing taxes.
Wow.
but the whole thing is, next year we might have to.
Yeah.
You know, it's, we're not dropping it too much, but the whole thing is, we got a lot of infrastructure that we can't rely on to make another year. And that's
Again,
where I come from.
yeah.
At the last meeting.
My only comment, around this is again, we're moving forward from the direction we got at the council info meeting. So we have generated the tax rate bylaw based on those assumptions.
But the whole thing is, like,
Not that council can't change, but if council did want to change those numbers, we would not be able to bring it forward this evening because we'd have to go back and compute all those numbers again and set a new tax rate bylaw. So
like tonight, there's new stuff that I didn't even know that we owe, but it's new. You know, that $1 million with our stuff that sooner or later we're gonna have to pay.
but that, Councilor Thorough, that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed their operations. It's just that obligation has always been there.
It's been there, but now.
It just hasn't been identified on paper.
Yeah, but now it's on the books,
Yeah.
shows us that we got bills coming in the future. And we don't have the money.
But I think
per
that,
se.
but that
We have the-
obligation
we
was
have the
always
money.
there. And
We have
there
lots
is
of money.
money there, Counselor Thurl,
Yeah.
if council wished to this evening, or not this evening is not the right time, but if council wished to, they could take $1 million out of one of our reserve accounts and assign it as an asset retirement obligation account. So there is some funds there, and I know it sounds like a lot of money, but we do know we're doing 2 blocks of infrastructure with some normal or abnormal above ground, but it's 6.5 million. So we know that it's very expensive.
Mhm.
But again, I think council's trying to find the balance, and that's your job, is to find the balance of what is acceptable and still be a solid, financially solid organization, what is acceptable for a tax generation from our residents.
Do we have that motion in front of us based on
Which motion?
the one with, that we discussed at the 3%? Or the one we concluded at our, information meeting?
So it's,
1 point. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so the tax rate that's before you in this bylaw is based on that 3%. Decrease to the non-residential tax rate, or the residential tax rate, and the 1% decrease to the
Non-res.
non-residential tax rate.
Any more discussion?
I make that
Council
motion, Mr. Mayor.
Council Warwick would make motion that council give the
First, okay.
first reading to bylaw 1034/2024, the 2024 tax bylaw. All in favor? Carried. Anyone would like to give a second reading?
Sure.
Council Olson. Council Olson would give the council a second reading of bylaw 1034/2024, the 2024 tax rate bylaw. All in favor? Carried. Motion that council provide unanimous consent to the third and final reading of 1034/2024, the 2024 rate bylaw at this meeting. Motion. Council Murphy. All in favor? Carried. Do I have to say unanimous on that? Mr. No?
Yeah, it was unanimous, yeah.
The council give the third and final reading to bylaw 1034/2024, the 2024 tax rate bylaw. Motion, okay, go ahead.
Councillor Thoreau did not put his hand up, so is it still unanimous? Is it
No.
Oh,
not
did he
unanimous?
not vote?
He did not.
So if he's not voting, then we can't give it third reading. So what it does is it delays sending the tax notices out. So,
That's fine.
but we have to have unanimous consent to,
Would
Would you like to vote in favor of
Yeah.
giving unanimous consent? Perfect.
hate the whole.
yeah, it's unanimous consent just allows us to move forward.
Yeah,
You
no,
can still vote opposed to third reading if you so chose.
Yeah,
but you just hold up.
well, the third, yeah.
Yeah.
Council give third and final reading bylaw 1034/2024 to the 2024 tax rate bylaw. Motion. Councilor Murphy,
I did the last.
okay,
You do this?
we're at the final one. Yeah,
I'll do it.
okay, all in favor? Opposed, carried.
Yeah.
Uh, 2002 animal bylaw control.
2002, where did you come up with that one, Mr. Mayor?
2035.
No.
10:35.
10/02, 10/35/2024.
Yeah, gotcha.
I combined everything together. Not the basis there.
So, Mr. Mayor, what you have before you tonight is request for first reading to bylaw 1035/2024, which is the animal control bylaw. So we did have a presentation at our March info meeting and presented the animal control bylaw to council at that meeting. The there is some, it is a large bylaw, but it is basically tweak and improve of the old animal control bylaw, which primarily focuses on dogs. But it does have a new added section for urban hens that has been added in. So we're bringing this bylaw forward for council direction. If council provides first reading to this bylaw, then we will create a public engagement process. And we're be open for feedback from council and how they would like to see that happen prior to getting second and third reading. But this document, if it's given first reading, would be then public information and people could review it, provide any comments they would have on it, any pros or cons towards it. Like I said, the big difference in this bylaw as compared to the old one would be the inclusion of the ability to have urban hens at a residential property.
What about cats?
This one does
Cats
not,
are a major problem.
this one does not touch cats.
Council
Would there, well, I'm just wondering, are we missing a step in here? Like, would there not be a step for like a pilot project with urban hens versus jumping right in and treating like it's gonna be accepted? Or-
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know if you can always make anything on a temporary pilot basis if council wish. But this intention, again, this is first reading. We would want to have feedback from our residents, whether they're pro or
Yeah.
against it and what concerns they have ultimately before council gives it second and third reading. I think the reason we definitely have it here before you tonight, it'd be if you want to continue to move it forward down the process. If council defeats first reading of this bylaw, that gives me the indication from council that you're not interested in adding urban hens as an option to our residents.
Through the acceptance of the first reading, we then can engage our public.
100%.
Yeah, so I think I'm in favor of that. I think before going any further, I would want to have some consult from the public sector.
No, I do believe that there definitely needs to be some public engagement. And we need to, council needs to hear what the thoughts of their taxpayers are and their residents are on this particular item. And I like I said, the big change would be the urban hens.
So basically then giving this for first reading gives us some leverage to go to the public with the document to show
You
them.
give, yeah, then this document has been sanctioned by council, at least in a draft stage for first reading moving forward. So it's something that people can review, look at, and that would be what the public engagement process would be based off, would be the way the bylaw sits. There may be some comments or feedback that comes back from our residents that maybe they're in favor of it, but they'd like to see a couple of things tweaked in the bylaw that council may consider as good amendments. So
Any other discussion? We get a motion to accept bylaw 1035/2024 for first reading.
Councilor
Council
Thurl's
Thurl,
taking a
sorry.
hand out there.
Yeah,
I didn't get it over.
all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
So the other question I guess I have for council on this issue is, does anybody have any ideas or thoughts around public engagement? Certainly share with us. I know the original thought back as we first started this process was establishing something like a non-statutory public hearing. So it would be fashioned similar to a public hearing. People would be allowed to come and speak either in favor of the bylaw or opposed to the bylaw. I think we probably have to do maybe some educational components too as well, maybe up front, so they understand what the requirements are, and that, but I'm looking to see if anybody has any real good ideas on how to move this forward.
I think, just the fact that we talked about it brought some, I'm not know what the terminology is, questions, I guess, about having to take a course and having to have a permit and having to have a coop of a certain size and have only allowed so many chickens, but I think, again, by doing this, it gives us the tools to better explain or better get it on the ground. And, I think if we assess based on feedback, whether we need to go to an open house scenario or not, it is probably the best way of doing it.
I mean, traditionally in other places that I've seen, they do a one-page, like a too long didn't read type version of this is what requirements you'd have for your property and for your license holder of the course and, the fees associated with it. Whether it's a mail out or PDF shared on social media, I don't know what's probably a combination of everything.
But there needs to be an avenue, Counselor Olson, for people to provide that input on.
Yeah, and
those
I mean, an
requirements.
email address is easy enough to put on those mail outs to get those ones. The town phone number there, I mean, there's communication on
Yeah.
every mail out that we do. We're certainly not opposed to an open house one evening. In the same way, just a few charts out there about what's involved.
Yeah,
I get the vibe that people seem to think this is so cutting edge. I mean, this is about 3 years ago in lots of communities, Hanna size is where it all went, and I have reached out before. Never got into any of this, and I haven't heard anything crazy. I mean, I'm sure there's inconveniences just like cats and dogs, but I haven't seen a community rescind it.
No. There is chicken coops out there for sale already, so.
Okay, so we've given it first reading, let's move forward from there. Council reports and roundtable, Council Cole? Nothing, Council Bowden,
No,
Council Warwick? Councilor Olson?
I guess I'll slow it down then. The only ones have had a golf course staff meeting, golf course is open, a bunch of new staff. They just wanted a board member to sit in. Board expectations and what would have there. Palliser board meeting. There was a talk of increase that was approved at last AGM for the next 3 years, I believe. So there'll be more discussion at the AGM, but after our financial statements, there may be 1 year of not an increase.
so when you say fees, you mean
Or
requisition?
requisition, yeah. Due to one budget planner position that's still vacant. So that'll be a discussion at AGM that have to be done by the membership. Links board meeting, the open house, the job fair was really well attended. Good reviews from everybody at tours of the building through the open house. The one I wanted to point out from Jerry's report was weekly meals are capped at 50 for those Wednesday meals, which I thought sounded really bad, so I asked her about that. Nobody has ever left without food. If somebody wants to come, it's not gonna be the same meal that's there, but they find something in the pantry or the food bank and there's sometimes. But they do a grab and go type deal and they notice that's quite disappointing to a lot of these people. The food is a good thing to go there, but the conversations with a lot of them go to and to just meet other people and hang out. Some of them don't have the opportunities to go have these social settings, so it's a big thing for them. So it's still going, trying to figure out a way to fund it. The casinos are an easy way to get money, and they have money for it, but they're having crazy rules about what you can spend that casino money on, of course, and helping people does not seem to be.
It all should be under. Really helps.
Yeah, that's all I have on there.
Council Murphy?
Haven't had much, just had my marigold meetings in, the end of April, library board, everything's smooth. It's all good. I have Acadia Foundation next week. Fabulous.
Council Terrell?
We held a community service board meeting last night and with the youth group, it sounds like they've got a few new members and they've got some projects on the go. It looks great for them and that was about it. It was a nice short sweet meeting. And we're ready for September and November. We got dates picked.
Our mugs, we moved our meeting ahead to May 2nd We went to Acadia Valley and we sat in on a session, an information session with special areas in the MD of Acadia. We did a tour of the potential irrigation process and where they're gonna irrigate, where the water is gonna be stored, where it's gonna be pumped, volumes. So it's 108,000 acres of currently cultivated land that they're looking to irrigate. They are going to utilize the existing Acadia, MD of Acadia reservoir plus build a larger one. So once the water is pumped from the river to the primary reservoir in Acadia, it will all be gravity feed out to the irrigation. On the special areas side, so there's a couple of pieces of cultivation. I'm gonna say west of Highway 41 on 555. There's a very large decompression in the ground that they will use for natural water storage and then build it up between 40 and 70 feet. The estimated volume of water is 15 cubic meters per minute is what will be pumping out of the Red Deer River. The provincial government, I'm not sure if it's provincial or federal, there's a water flow rate point right at the river at Buffalo there. And so right now it will continuously monitor the flow of the river. There is an app available on your phone, Alberta Rivers. You can actually see what the flow is of the various rivers and at what times. And so that project is going ahead. The dam at Adderley, we've done a little more work with that. And as far as feasibility and so on and so forth. The thing with these projects like the Adderley Dam and the irrigation at special areas in the MD of Acadia is it's really hard to get your head around something that's going to have an effect on 100 years from now. As far as you know, benefits and growth and so on and so forth. Originally, I was under the understanding that they were going to try and generate more crop by doing that. And so the soil tests have been done and everything. And it's not to try and rejuvenate land that isn't suitable to growing a crop. It's to better utilize the croplands that they have there. Very informative session. I've got a pamphlet at the shop if anybody would like to look at it. And again, it's a number of years down the road, but it is moving forward. And that's all I have. A very good meeting down there with and those are special areas in the MD of Acadia Valley. So anything else?
Mr. Mayor, just in regards to the correspondence, items, I know that we had a Zoom meeting with, the Alberta municipalities or, President Tyler Gandam in regards to Bill 20. And I'm just wondering,
You jump on the gun, Councilor.
are we gonna go through each of those?
Well, we're just doing council reports and roundtable right now.
Oh, so we're gonna go through each of the,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were gonna go through all of those because we have.
Down.
So, okay, sorry, that's my
Sometimes we
mistake. I just didn't think we went through every, usually we don't usually address all the correspondence
But
items,
but when
so.
we get to the correspondence section, we do talk about any items.
Anything.
that's specific.
Okay. Well, aren't we there?
Okay, so council roundtable. Motion to present, or accept is presented. Council Olson, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Correspondence, Mr. Neal, is there anything of interest?
So as you can see, there's 10 items of correspondence. I think 2 in particular, unless council has questions on any of the others. So one being the Community Garden Society. They do have a letter. That was all that was received, was just that letter with the idea that they wanted. I struggle with letters when we get letters like this because they don't. I always tell people if they want funding from the town to ask what amount of funding they want from the town. Because it's really hard if council wants to participate or fund and they pick a number. number, they're just picking a number. So I'm not sure how council wants to deal with this, whether we want to invite their representatives to do a presentation or a proposal with more information on what they want to do. I don't profess to be an expert at the community garden. I know they do have water already supplied to them from the hospital. So I'm not sure, it's not like they don't have water, and they don't have a system to water their gardens now, so I don't know how this is going to improve it, other than they think it may reduce the amount of water they use. But if council wishes, we certainly could invite them to expand upon their plan and their idea, if that's something council would like to see.
Could we just ask them, you know, like most people, if they're asking for money, they make a presentation, I find would be better. We can ask questions, we
Yeah.
can't ask or get any answers.
Yeah, no, I certainly, and that's what I would do if that's the direction council wants to go with that item.
That's what I'd like to see, you know, so.
Well, I'd like to see this, sorry,
Council Bowman?
I'd like to see the same, you know, what all are they, doing to raise that money than to just say, I want this money and we're asking for the full amount.
Okay, no, I could certainly invite them to a meeting to provide that information, so, and give you an opportunity to ask them questions.
Yeah.
The other one, as Councillor Warwick wanted to bring up, was Bill 20, so I'm not sure if you've seen that or heard that. Certainly AM and RMA have taken a very strong stance that they are in opposition to Bill 20 and in opposition to what the province wishes to do in terms of some of the ideas around being able to remove councillors at the discretion of cabinet, to invite the use of political parties, and specifically in Calgary and Edmonton in the next municipal election. The other thing that I think is hot on them, or one of the hot, that this bill would give the province the ability to come in and rescind or defeat any bylaw that council may pass.
They could also remove a counselor
Yes,
at their decision.
yes.
They already have that.
They already have that.
Well, they do have it, but they do have to go through an inspection process, and
Which they should.
this process just basically says cabinet can gather and say, we'd like to remove Councillor Olson from.
What are you picking on me?
Because you're wearing an Oilers jersey.
Fair enough.
But I did hear a comment that did provide a bit more clarification, that said in situations such as fire and.
So that's a different,
evacuation-
but that's a different bill. That's a Bill 21, which is another bill that they just tabled the other
Okay, I
day.
thought it had something to do with where their control would come in and then.
And Bill 21 through focuses on the emergency management side, and they are basically saying that the province will come in and take control of a local emergency at their discretion.
Okay, I apologize.
So that, but they just both hit 20 and
Yeah.
21, and both kind of moving into what is traditional municipal government direction and authority. So AM does have a letter that they're encouraging councils to sign, that to go to the premier, to their MLA, in regards to their non-support of Bill 20. If that's something council would wish to do, if council wishes to make a motion, we can do that.
I'll make that motion.
Hey, Council Warwick?
I think it takes away our local autonomy and true democracy when you can just have, the provincial cabinet step in and just, fire or hire or whatever, bylaws. I mean, we spend years and hours working on bylaws and they can just wipe them off or add or subtract whatever they want to them. But they're asking us to really talk to our MLAs on an ongoing basis and provide letters of support and that we are against Bill 20 if we truly are against it, because I don't think it's gonna do local democracy any justice.
One of the things through Bill 22, which doesn't affect us, is the use of tabulators.
Yeah,
You know, simple things like that,
that was actually on the news this morning. The cost for small municipalities would be tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah.
well, and they've got some ramifications too around public hearings.
Yeah.
So that public hearings can be reduced in the number of public hearings that are required, and that there a virtual option be available,
Yeah, the
so.
Mayor Duchess was on.
Yeah.
This morning, so.
Debbie Mickler, yeah, she's also
So-
on our.
So for some of the smaller
Yeah,
ones
she's
that
okay.
don't have this type of, even this type of setup where they're recording meetings and live streaming meetings, certainly for them, the cost to be able to bring themselves up to that standard can be cost prohibitive for some of the real small municipalities.
Okay, so we have a motion on, oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm
Councilwoman.
sorry, well, even, wasn't there 70% of municipalities responded saying that? they
No,
were
I
not
think it's
in favor?
higher than that.
But at one point, I'm
Yeah.
confident it was around 70%, and so they're going ahead with it regardless. You know, I think that is just a blatant ignoring,
Minister MacGyver.
But ultimately, as we are aware, Councillor Bowden, they have autonomy and direction over municipalities. We
Oh, for sure.
operate, we operate because they allow us to operate. So I truly agree that they've gone about it the wrong way. And I think, certainly AM and RMA certainly have that same opinion, that they feel that there wasn't even any solid consultation. Say, we want to do this, what are your thoughts? It was, we want to do this and this is what it is.
Well, there was some whispers about what the intention was, and then they delivered a bill,
Yeah, and then they've slowly
clawed back.
in paper clawed back, but the amendments haven't been made public, but they've retracted to say, oh, we would only use those powers in a very rare situation. But until they put guidelines around what
Defines rare.
rare is and in what situations, there's a lot of ambiguity there, so.
Okay, so we have a motion, on the floor, and Councilor Roach, I can read again, please.
Just that, oh, do you have it written down?
No, I don't.
Oh,
Just that, I would just say that the, council direct the mayor to write a letter of opposition to the provincial government, premier and Demolish Stetler MLA, in regards to our opposition to Bill 20.
Can you say they have a template? But
They do have a
They do,
template.
they
yeah.
do actually, and I
Yeah.
can probably send it to you if you want it, but I would also say that we send it to, Minister MacGyver,
Okay,
the
yeah,
premier. And also include our president, Tyler Gowden,
okay,
or-
in that as well, please.
okay.
all in favor? Carried.
But other than that, if there's any other items in correspondence that council wishes to talk about, those are two in particular.
Okay, how long is our closed session gonna be?
As long as council makes it be. I don't think it'll be terribly long.
I think
15
most we have a
minutes.
quick adjournment for
Yeah.
tea break.
Oh, we need a motion to accept correspondence.
Correspondence, motion, Councilor Bowden, all in favor? Carried. Okay, we're in recess.